Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Tetracast. This is RPG Site's weekly podcast where we get the site staff together to talk about our favorite genre of video games. My name is Brian Vitale. Joining me, I've got the usual crew here today. We have Josh Torres.
Week.
We have Adam Vitale.
Hello.
We have James Glizio.
There's too many games. Send help.
And we have Chow Min Woo.
Help.
All right, so we have talked about on this podcast on several occasions how big of a month February was, and we are just now approaching, that fireball right now. But alongside that, on top of that, we got this surprise Nintendo Direct this last week. And I guess if you look back at the history, Nintendo Directs are very, very regularly in the January or February of every year. So this is one of those things where people probably were expecting it. But they're always kind of a fun time for our site because they're announced a day or two later, they're held. Out of all the console publishers for our site's coverage, usually Nintendo Directs have the most stuff of relevance to us. Of course, anyone listening to this podcast probably already knows all the announcements of the Nintendo Direct, but we're going to go through all the details and announcements that are relevant to us, kind of go into our impressions and what we thought of the surprises from there. On top of the Nintendo Direct this week, we also do have the Steam Next Fest, and both of those events came with a list of kind of dropped demos for both games that are coming out soon and a little bit further out. And I know a few of us have spent some time poking at some of the demos that have come out both with the Nintendo Direct on Switch and with the Steam Next Fest on Steam. And then, of course, we're going into the back half of February somehow already, and we're going into a lot of games releasing within the next week or so. So we're going to dive pretty much right into that. So we have a couple features on the site. We have a lot of demos that we've played. We've got all the news from the Nintendo Direct. We're going to start out here with one of the games that is the earliest of this fireball of releases that are coming out in February. And that is something that I know a few of us have been anticipating for quite a while. And that is Labyrinth of Galleria. So we've talked about this game in a few instances on this podcast. Obviously, James played it when it came out in Japanese. He also put up a little bit of a footage video up on our YouTube channel for it a few weeks back. But as for the official English release that is coming out this week, Adam has been looking at the game for us, and we wanted to give him a chance to talk about it, though I do think Adam will go into detail about why that is actually a little bit more difficult of an assignment than it might originally seem.
Yeah, so here's the thing. If I were to spoil like one or two or three components of Labyrinth of Galleria, you still would have no idea what goes on in that game because it makes so many, the story and the narrative and the way that it proceeds is very dynamic, and there's a lot that goes on. So a couple years ago, James put up a piece saying, I hate why I can't talk about this game. And that's kind of the reason. So perhaps that's a spoiler in itself that the game isn't what it actually isn't what it appears to be on its face. Take that as you will. Like, that's maybe a minor spoiler, but trust me, you'll have no idea where this game is going when you start it. So that makes it hard to talk about in terms of like what the game like is, but I can give the premise. So Labyrinth of Galleria, it's a follow-up to Labyrinth of Refrain that released like 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. And it's not a sequel though, because it stars a whole new set of characters. So you don't have to play Labyrinth of Refrain to play this one. I have beaten the game. Now, I haven't beaten like the post game, and it's one of those sorts of titles where there's more story in the post game. So it's like, well, so I don't have a full picture of everything yet, but a pretty complete picture. So this is a dungeon crawler. So first person dungeon crawler, in the realm of like Etrian Odyssey or Wizardry, where you run on a map tile by tile, step by step in a first person mode. What sets these games a little bit apart from other dungeon crawlers is that you don't just have a party of like 6, classes like wizard, warrior, whatever. Instead, you control like an army of puppets, and you put your puppets into what is called a coven, which is like a group. And you have 5 groups that fight rather than 5 units. And there's various different styles of groups that are like groups that have like 3 slots for attackers, or groups that have more like spell-based magic attached to them and things like that. So I bring that up first because that's kind of, in terms of the gameplay side of things, that's where these games are most unique. They're not just like a Wizardry or an Etrian game. They're a little bit different. And as for the story, you play as a teenage girl named Eureka, and you start the game, you head to a manor that is sort of like out in the wilderness. It's not a very populated manor. There's not a lot of people around it. It's only just nearby a small town, but it's home to a lot of basically a count who is into art. And there is a witch there who is looking into a labyrinth underneath this manor, looking for these magical art pieces that are called curio, or more fancy, curio d'art. And you basically are hired on to be apprenticed to the witch to find these curio in this labyrinth underneath this manor. And that is just like the tip top of the surface of what happens in this game. So is there any, like, do you have any immediate questions just about this game before I go further?
I guess my question is on a narrative front, you've basically painted the picture that this is a difficult game to talk about. If you've played the first game, is that kind of like the expectation? Like, oh, this is the sort of game that subverts that thing? Or does it kind of just do something different from the first game?
When you compare the narratives of the first and second games, they are structured quite a bit differently. This game is the story, just being broad here, it's quite a bit more intricate. There's more moving parts. There's more that's going on. In the first game, not to summarize the whole first game here now, but you are playing as different characters, Dranya and Luca, going to this town and exploring the labyrinth there. And then over that game, you kind of slowly, over the course of the game, learn about who these characters are and their past, and basically why they are, with each other, why do they act this way towards each other. And it's a little bit more straightforward. It is revealed to you in a surprising way, perhaps. But this game, there's a lot of twists. There's a lot of things that you don't see coming. And so it's quite a bit trickier to talk about in terms of
Is the basic like structure narrative flow like Labyrinth Refrain, where like you reach a certain, like, you dive into the labyrinth, then you get to a certain like checkpoint in the labyrinth, and then that'll unlock a new story scene. So you go back, exit the labyrinth to see the new story scene, and then they'll give you another objective, like dive further into the labyrinth and get to this spot to see the next story beat.
Broadly, yes, but it does switch things up a little bit sometimes.
Okay.
But broadly, yes, you go to the labyrinth, you fight a boss, then you move out of you move out and you see a scene or two, and then so on. But it is a little bit different. Now, I think the game is pretty good. It does have a different flavor to it than the original. So
it's definitely more story heavy for sure.
Yeah. It's longer. The first game is pretty long. I think the first game is like 60, 70 hours. But this game I'm at like 80 hours, I think, and that's not including the post game. Just as a comment, the post game in the original game in Labyrinth of Refrain, it's okay, but it did feel kind of unnecessary, and I would be totally fine if someone just decided they didn't want to play it. But it seems like the post game in Galleria is more interesting or more complete.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to James. I beat the game, and I was just like, I feel like just a little bit disappointed in terms of like, I feel like, I'm not satisfied. And then James was like, well, the post game, you kind of have to play that. I'm like, oh, okay. That feels a little bit different to me. I know I haven't played the Galleria post game yet, so I can't speak to it, but I can speak to the point right up to it. Whereas in the first, in Refrain, I honestly could suggest you don't need to play the post game unless you really like the game and you want to just keep playing. But otherwise, so that's where I'm at. So the review embargo went up yesterday, and I could have reviewed it, up to the end credits. I saw the credits, but I was like, you know what? I can take another couple days a week to play the post game, get the full picture, and write it up. One thing, it is interesting to see, like earlier this month when I posted the monthly schedule of RPGs that I do every month on Twitter, there did seem to be a fair bit of excitement for a game like this. You don't usually see that for these sorts of dungeon crawlers, but I think word of mouth of the first game and perhaps word of mouth of this one's Japanese release have kind of reached a certain audience that likes these sort of games, and they're really interested in this one. Obviously, it's not nearly as big as going to be like Octopath or even Ishin, but
even Theatrhythm.
Yeah, certainly got the whole Final Fantasy fan base there. But it's on our Twitter when I put out the schedule. A lot of people are like excited. They're like saying what they're interested in picking up or whatnot. Obviously, February is like a packed month. A lot of people looking forward to Octopath, Ishin, even quite a bit of Wild Hearts. I've seen a lot of excitement for that. But yeah, Galleria too. So if you think I've spoiled you on Galleria, trust me, I haven't. There's a lot that happens that there are a few things that you can guess. Like one of the twists I think is pretty kind of evident almost immediately, but there are others that in a way they kind of feel like they come out of nowhere. But I'll put it this way. James was watching me stream this game briefly, maybe a week ago, and I was maybe like 40 hours in. And James asked me, like, what do you think? And my response at the time was, I have no idea what's going on. I'm 40 hours into this game and I have no idea what's going on. The game does leave you guessing, like probably 80%, 85% of the way through, where it is very mysterious. There's a lot of things that happen that aren't explained initially. And at times it may feel like you're sort of just getting dragged along. But I will say it does all eventually fall into place. I'm not sure if it all completely holds water in terms of like everything possibly explained that it should be, but it does fall into place where it's like where things make sense and like, oh, okay, so this is what actually happened and this is why it's phrased this way or this happened in this.
I guess my question is like, I guess you just seems like a game that you just have to have like sort of faith in it that it'll like reveal itself to you, because I know for some people when you say I have 40 hours and I still have no idea what's going on, I'm sure like a good chunk of people are gonna be like, I don't know if I like the sound of that, you know?
I mean, I'll be honest, when I was at that point, like, do I like this game? I don't know. Like, it kind of all hinges on how this is revealed here. Like, if the answer to the question, what is going on, is really unsatisfying and stupid, like, then, like, well, that was kind of a waste of time. And this is kind of where it gets a little bit tricky for me. I even just said, at the end of the game, I felt just a little bit unsatisfied. It was like, well, okay, it seems like there's a little bit more that I haven't seen.
So now, like, if we get to the question, like, okay, how long does post game take? And now you're gonna have to like invest another however many hours that post game will take to maybe get an ending that you may or may not be satisfied with. You know?
Yeah, I'm confident that Adam will like the post game's conclusion. It feels very, I guess the best way of putting it is cathartic. Kind of like in the same way that, in a similar way to how refrains and like base game ending just feels like cathartic.
I'll just put it this way. The ending, like the regular ending credits of Labyrinth of Refrain, it isn't just a scrolling credits on a black backdrop, like a typical movie or game.
Feels like a proper narrative conclusion.
Yeah, but the regular ending credits of Galleria are just credits on a black backdrop. There's like a quick little scene at the very end of the game that is the end of the regular game, and it is a ending. But I just kind of comparing the ending to Galleria, the ending of Refrain to the ending of Galleria, just like not including post game. Just like, man, the Refrain had a really satisfying, I don't know if cathartic's the right word, but it's close enough, cathartic ending, where Galleria's ending kind of just felt more typical to me. But it sounds like I'm missing a little bit here, so I won't go any further into that. But as for the game itself, it's really solid. Like the dungeon crawler aspects of it, it polishes up a few things from the first game. It's very similar. So if you played the original and if you liked it, you'll probably like this. If you didn't like the original, I don't know. I don't think this changes enough to like change your mind.
What are the big differences, if there were like any to you from the first game, gameplay wise?
It's actually hard for me to remember. Like, was this exactly in the first game or not? Some of the classes are a little different. There's a liberation skill for each union. I actually didn't use it very often, but it can be useful. How do I put this? Each union has like a little meter that charges, and once it's full, you can do like a special sort of attack. I'm pretty sure
it's a limit break.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that wasn't in the original. There's some, when you're exploring in the labyrinth, one of the small things that makes these dungeon crawlers also gives them a little bit of a different flavor compared to like a typical dungeon crawler is that you don't have to follow the labyrinthian maze. You can just bust down a wall if you want. If you want to get to the next room over, but there's no door there, and if this is a typical dungeon crawler, you'd have to find your way around to get to the other side. In this game, just break the wall down. You can do it. Why not? It just costs a little bit of a resource to do it, but you can. Now, one thing that Galleria adds is that there are a couple of walls that once you break them down, they're broken permanently, and so it sort of acts like a shortcut. And so that's a small little nice thing where if you're revisiting a floor that you've already explored, it's a little bit easier to navigate the second time through because, like, okay, before I kind of had to do this puzzle or go around this way or whatnot, but now I can just run through this wall that I broke down. So that's nice. I'm trying to think if there's any other major things. There's, different skills and different classes and things like that. The liberation skills, which are basically like the union limit breaks. Can you think of anything, James? I'm trying to think if there's anything that wasn't in the original in terms of gameplay that was in this one.
There's some aspects. There's like the sanity zones, and you can go underwater.
Yeah, that's underwater stuff in a lot of games, underwater means you can't use magic. But in this game, how it is underwater, you can just only spend so many steps underwater before you just, suffocate. So there's a couple little underwater zones where you have to like carefully map out your path to make sure you don't suffocate. Yeah, and then there's these insanity zones where it's sort of like underwater, only once you take enough steps, you just start taking damage. But otherwise, it's a really solid game in terms of just the dungeon crawling aspects of it. A lot of the usual things that you would see in a dungeon crawler like this, like, coordinating a party. You have to have your frontline attackers, you have to have your defenders, you have to have some people with some magic to do, your buffs and debuffs and whatnot, because those are very crucial in games like this. So, on that side, it's really satisfying, just like most dungeon crawlers are. If you're not aware, I'm a big Etrian Odyssey fan for similar reasons. Obviously, this has a different feel than Etrian Odyssey game, but from a basic, dungeon crawling flavor, dungeon crawling, genre, it's got those same sorts of ticks the same boxes in my brain.
It sounds an English dub like the first game, right?
Yes. I don't think it's as good. The first game's English voice acting was done by Bang Zoom, by a director there who I think is pretty good. Yeah, this game's voice acting was done by Sentai, who generally isn't as good as Bang Zoom, in my opinion, in general. And I think it is a step down.
Refrain's English dub was like notably like fantastic.
Yeah, it's okay, but I don't like Refrain. I could say like, yeah, it's really good, and I didn't even consider playing in Japanese. In this game, there were a few times I was like, maybe I should just play this in Japanese. It's not, the dub isn't bad. It's just kind of like, it's serviceable.
I mean, yeah, but it's a bummer, right? Because like I think that's one of the standout things from Labyrinth of Refrain to a lot of people is like the English dub was like, it was really, really compelling.
It was one of those things that like, as I was playing through the game, it's almost just like, as I'm playing through the game, I'm thinking to myself, this seemed a little bit lower quality than Refrain. Is it just me? I wonder if it's the same studio and the same director, because that would be weird if it was like the same production, but it was worse. And then I finally get to the credits and I see that it's done by Sentai instead of Bang Zoom. It almost feels like justification in a way, like, oh, that explains it. I'm sure Sentai does good work, but it's like, okay, it is a different studio doing the ADR and whatnot. So, but yeah, it's okay.
All right.
So yeah, this week I'll probably play through the post game.
What platform are you playing it on?
I'm playing on PC. The PC port is totally fine. I mean, it's a dungeon crawler with like visual novel like this presentation otherwise, so it wasn't.
They're going to be PC specs like Forspoken, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll return maybe next week with some thoughts just like on the post game. Obviously not spoilers, but just, okay, yes, I believe the post game is necessary or completes my expectations of the narrative or whatnot. But
I think you'll have a fuller picture, and you'll definitely help people, because I know like probably a bunch of people are going to reach those credits, be like, okay, I'm done with the game, without realizing that post game is more crucial here than Refrain.
Well, thank you, Adam, for talking about to the extent that you could, Labyrinth of Galleria. I guess this might be a very difficult assignment for you, but if someone hasn't played the original game and doesn't know whether or not they should pick this up, why should someone pick up Galleria compared to the other litany of releases in the next couple of months?
Galleria is really long, so it's a little bit of a barrier.
So don't do it.
No, that is a barrier to just like,
I know.
Suggesting it. Like, you should play this game. It's only 100 hours long, right? You may not even like it, but
if you like dungeon crawlers and want to play,
if you like Etrian Odyssey, if you like dungeon crawlers, I certainly think you should definitely try it, either this game or Refrain. I will say this though, Galleria does have a really slow burn of an opening. Refrain does too, but Galleria, I would say even more so. There's sort of a reason for that, but
I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Basically, one way to look at it is like the first 30 or so hours basically could be considered tutorial.
I was about to say the exact same thing. We were on the same wavelength here. The first 30 hours of this game is basically a prologue.
Oh my god.
That's Adam, you're supposed to say this.
You're going to tell me, it gets good after 30 hours at that type of game?
Bad then. It's just that the game is very much on it kind of ties into the narrative where it's like, you don't really know what's happening until like 60, 70 hours in.
I don't know. Good luck on like trying to like sell a
Now,
new person.
The way the story is delivered is really good. It's like some games have like Chekhov's gun. This has like Chekhov's arsenal. There's like all these little bits and pieces of info that are laid out, and then like all once it kind of clicks, and it's like, wow, that was handled really well. Just a slow burn for sure.
There's a small thing I want to talk to James about, but I probably shouldn't for spoilers.
Well, you can just ping me later.
Yeah, I mean,
This sounds like a scary game.
Refrain is a little bit more typical. I think Refrain, where I'm at right now, I think Refrain's like main characters are stronger. If I just had to talk about the characters themselves, Dranya and Luca, I think, are the stronger duo than Erika and other people in Galleria. But Refrain also has a pretty slow burn at the front of it, not as slow. And the way that the narrative is given in that game is a little bit more typical. I would say Galleria, if you love like mysteries, if you love twists upon twists, if you love piecing things together, Galleria probably has more of that, because where Refrain is a bit more straightforward. You're not really piecing things together. It just is kind of just given to you more traditionally. So, yeah, there's a little bit of a different. I would say for sure, these games, just the way their narratives are given. I'm not saying that one is better than the other at this point. I'm just saying the way that the narratives are delivered and structured and given is pretty different, and you may prefer one style or the other.
Well, obviously, Labyrinth of Galleria is releasing in just a couple days, I believe on Tuesday, the 14th. Do I have that right?
I think so.
Yep.
All right. And then obviously when Adam gets a chance to go through the post game to get his complete thoughts on the game, we'll likely see a review from him and potentially hear back from him on next week of the podcast. If we can make time between all the other games we'll be likely playing in the next handful of weeks. So the next thing we'll talk about here is kind of left this section a little bit open. Obviously, across the Steam Next Fest and the Nintendo Direct in the last week, a lot of new demos have dropped. So instead of listing a specific game to talk about here, I just kind of want to see, like, go around the room here, who has poked out a few of the demos that have released on Switch or on Steam. I know that Josh in particular has played a good handful of them. I know Chow has as well, and I've poked out a particular one that I was interested in that was announced at the Nintendo Direct. So I'll hand it off to Josh first, because he just put up a list of how many games did you say demos you said you played? Like 8 to 10?
Okay, so I played. So right now I'm like at 10 to 11-ish. I think I liked most of them. It was mostly Steam Next Fest demos, but I did put up a feature on the site because we got early access to one of them. Adam, about like a week and a half ago, is like, hey, we got an offer for this Wandering Sword PC demo preview thing. And I'm like, oh, that's the game that's like kind of doing that HD 2D style, but it's Abusha Chinese setting and all so forth. So I guess that's a good jumping off point. I kind of put a more formal write up on like my thoughts on the demo on the site, but the basic rundown is a very unique like premise and blend, because you do have like this studio, like I think it's like the Swordsman Studio. I'm not sure exactly where they're based from. I didn't actually do much research on the developers on it. I think it's like their first game, though. They're using Unreal Engine 4, just like how Octopath does. It's obviously, they probably got some of that shared knowledge from how the HD2D, engine works and applied it to their project. It worked out pretty well. It's kind of a weird thing because it's the first time I like actually played an HD2D game in like more than 30 FPS. Because I've only played what Octopath 1 on Switch,
Triangle Strategy on Switch,
Live Alive Switch, and then the Octopath mobile game.
Isn't Live Alive 60?
No, it's not. So yeah, so it was kind of cool seeing like there's a HD2D looks like in 60. But anyway, so like the basic premise for this game is at the very beginning, you're with this caravan, you're escorting like this person, and all of a sudden you get attacked. And after like it's kind of like these bandits, ambushing you. You're not exactly sure why they attacked you, what's going on. All you know is like you basically got to get your ass kicked. Like the tutorial battle is like your VIP. He's like some super fancy, awesome martial arts dude who kicks like the initial wave of attacks in, but then another faction comes in. you're kind of caught in the crossfire. You wake up and like the main character's name is like Yuen Yi, and he wakes up. The person that you have to control the tutorial saved him. The rest of the caravan was wiped out, and like the person who saved you, like his name is like Master King Chu, is like he kind of like drops you off with this other person to go cure you of your ailments because you're like currently poisoned with this frost venom thing, and it's kind of tricky to take out. So he kind of leaves them off with you with like a specialist that can like help you out and mentor you and so forth. So like the first hour of this game, I was like, I don't know if I like this game. Like it kind of has some neat concepts going on for it, but it's a very typical first village type of like in your JRPG where like nothing's really happening, bro. You're getting tutorialized on stuff. You're getting some fetch quests, your typical fetch quests from like the town NPCs, but like you can't really do anything yet, right? So
this demo starts out where the game starts out.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's a pretty like it's not like in the middle of it. You're kind of just like put right at the very beginning. You're at level 1 and all that stuff. So just talking briefly about battle system because they do tutorialize you on that. The battle system is sort of similar to Live Alive. You do have once you get to this enemy encounter, you're placed on this grid. And you move around sort of like Live Alive, but like unlike Live Alive, and you remember, like you can like freely like move around the grid. The payoff is like every time you move, the enemy will move because like every time you kind of like do your turn, the enemy will take their turn as well, depending on like your action gauges. So like in that sense, like moves are like turns are certain like always being exchanged between one and another. As soon as you move, like everyone's action gauges kind of move forward just a little bit. In this game, it's kind of an interesting take on it because it's very similar to Live Alive, but in Wandering Sword, like you have when it's an ally's turn or you can potentially move to a certain spot on the grid. Like you'll have like all the spaces where you can move like are highlighted, so you have like a move stat almost. So like you can move like 2 spaces or 3 spaces, and you can move to that, but like no one like as you're moving through those tiles, it's not like Live Alive where everyone's like action gauges are going up as you're moving through those tiles. It's only after you end your turn will people's action gauges go up. So unlike in Live Alive, there's a way to like kind of undo your movement before you like commit to it, before you say end turn or like take an attack and so forth. So it does have that distinguishing like little thing from Live Alive, but that does make it a little bit more different from Live Alive in terms of like the flow of battle. So seems like very it feels overwhelming at first because when you're tutorial, you're this high level dude, and like this when you're looking at like the battle interface, I have like a screenshot of it, and like in the other article, you have like they kind of thrust you into it. You have like this normal attack, you have this special attack, you have this mighty attack, this unique attack, and then you have these things called lightness and cultivation. Like, what the fuck is going on? And you're just like, so basically, once you start kind of like getting the hang of things, obviously your normal attack is your normal attack. Your special, mighty, unique attacks are all like different tools and attacks that like your character can do, and they all have cooldowns and different ranges. Some of them are AoEs. Some of them will like grant additional effects. Like the main character eventually gets a skill where like he'll do a special attack that's like ranged, but it heals him, and you can take like you can do a post movement after that. After like you enhance one of your attacks after a certain point, and then like mighty unique attacks can like are much more powerful but have longer cooldowns. Lightness is an interesting like kind of like buff skill, which usually enhances like movement, so like you're able to like get around the field faster if you need to like get to an enemy ASAP or like dip out really fast. And cultivation is a really interesting one because this kind of is like sometimes it's an attack that grants buffs. Like sometimes it's like for one character, like it'll do like an attack and then like it'll take off an ailment off of them, or the main character eventually like gets a cultivation skill where like he'll do an attack and it'll heal him. And that's really handy and so forth. But the interesting thing about all of this is like there's like no like kind of traditional level ups in this game. Everything is kind of dictated by like your weapon choice. So like early on in the game, like your mentor tells you, hey, like you want to like wield a sword, you want to wield like a spear, or do you want to wield like a saber? And then there's like 3 other types of weapons that aren't available to you. So like you can always switch up what weapon you want to use. Just bear in mind that like the more you use a weapon, the more you'll level up like your skill with them, and that's where you kind of start creating your quote unquote levels. Is like by your
I'm wondering how
efficiency.
much Adam is hopefully like paying attention right now, because this sounds like a certain series I know he likes a lot.
It's Sega Frontier.
Yeah, I was gonna say Saga.
Yeah.
I don't know. The way that you describe this weapon tree system, it kind of reminds me of watching like wuxia stories where the main character will learn a certain martial art, and he's only proficient with that martial art, and he needs to like if he wants to learn other ability, he steals it from fighting other people. It's like, I see your moves. I think I can copy it.
Oh, that's kind of like the interesting thing. Like I'll get into that like sort of feeling in it, like later, but that's just breaking down the battle system. So there's a certain point early on of like classic wuxia style. There's something that happens to your mentor. I won't say what happens, but there's something that happens to your mentor, and like your mentor had a daughter.
He has a really good day.
Yeah, something happens to that daughter. Something happens to your mentor, and it's kind of up to you to kind of be like, what's going on? There's like these factions at work. One faction thinks like the daughter's the high priestess of sect. It's like a religious sect for whatever reason. You don't know why. Another faction has like beef with your mentor because of his past. And so like at a certain point in the demo, like you start seeing like this convergence of like things that have happened before are like starting to catch up with them, and like it's kind of up to you to like go on like a journey to figure out, okay, what's going on, and obviously try to get your mentor's daughter back as well.
Well, at least there's no sunflower manual in this version.
So definitely is your classic like wuxia protagonist like martial arts adventure, because along the way he has to kind of like get better at what he's doing. He has a long way from like being badass. So it's an interesting thing like how you kind of gain party members in this game. I don't know if you'll gain like party members automatically throughout like the main story in the full release, but at least for this one, all your like permanent party members are optional. So like there's kind of like a freebie one, which is like the kind of like the town guard of the starting town, which like you can easily recruit him. And how you recruit people is usually almost every NPC, besides just talking with them, there's like an observe option, and when you observe them, you'll see their inventory. You can trade with them. You see what items they have. You can gift them stuff to boost their like affection with you, and when their affection reaches 20, you can spar with them, like one-on-one sparring, like battles. And if you win, you'll like gain an item from their inventory for free. Obviously, you'll get your ass whooped because a lot of these characters have like pretty high levels compared to you, and like obviously outstat you. There's like there's pretty much a cutoff of like you can't. There's a game where like you pretty much need the stats to win. It's not like all skill, but eventually, once you raise their affection enough through gifting what they like, because as you observe a person, you'll see like, I don't know how this will affect things if they plan to like, you'll see their morality, like there's like a value to the morality. It can go to the negatives. You'll see their likes, their dislikes, and like a brief description of like about them. And like usually on their likes, you'll see like, oh, this person likes consumables. So or they might like food,
I like consumables.
I know the English script of this game is kind of still wonky, so it's a demo, so I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. So like a lot of the UI and the HUD like feel a little bit unfinished, but it's still a demo, so I'm not like that being harsh on them. We'll see for the full release if they polish that up. But so for the freebie one, you give him some stuff. Very basic stuff, and boosts his morale or affection all the way up to 60. And at 60, for some characters, when you observe them, sometimes there'll be like an option to invite them. So when you invite them and their affection is at 60, then they'll join you. And that's interesting to me because there's like other NPCs in that demo where you observe that they do have the invite option. I'm like, okay, how do I get this person? Like, what do they like? Well, how much do I have to like gift them for them to join me? Because there are more party members in that demo that like initially meets the eye on that, and it makes you wonder, is like, one, how many optional party members are there? Two, are there actually going to be any like mainstay permanent party members with you that are involved with you in your adventure? Three, like I wonder if they're going to place like really weird, obscure like limits on like recruitable characters of like, if you recruit this character of high morality, do you lose like this path to like recruit this other character because they're like in direct opposition with them and so forth like that? Like sort of like if you recruit this character, you'll lock out this other character, but you may not know about it, or who knows, you know? So as far as I could tell, you could like deploy up to 5 party members at once on the battlefield, like it's just in your standard party. So I don't know if that number will go up, but like when it comes to like party slots, that's how much it shows you. So that seems pretty cool. All these party members, you know, they have their own like weapon set, and then that they can all like, you know, spec their own weapon efficiencies and so forth. I don't know if they have access to another system where with your main character, as you're leveling up your normal, your special, your might, your other attacks, and even your lightness, you can level up your cultivation as well. And I don't know if it is about Chinese games, but they really like the term cultivation. And like, you know, if you played like some Chinese games, like they really like the term cultivation when it comes to like building up your character, which is kind of fun. When you when you invest in your cultivation, you'll gain like another set of points. I'm trying to remember the exact terminology they used, but it's essentially like a stat point that you can use in another menu to level up passives. And the way this is like visualized to you is really cool because they're all like kind of like stances or vessels, you know. So they have like different like martial arts stances or like poses, and they're like silhouettes. And as you cycle through them, like the nodes of those passives that you travel through with those skill points that you get from leveling for cultivation, they sort of form like the stance that they represent. So like the Yang vessel or the Yang stance may like be specking to like HP and defense, and the way that those are that skill tree is like built up, it's like to mimic that stance. Or another one might be like specking to like attack and crit chance and so forth. So the way that like I took some screenshots on the article and like used to give you a better idea of what that looks like, but it's a neat way to like visualize that. Like, you know, like they could have done the standard thing of like making a more standard looking menu, but I like the little flair that they gave. Just the last thing I want to mention as well, Chow, when you were talking about like, you know, like the wuxia experience, like, you know, when you read books and you watch films, you know, of like wuxia media, you know, one of the key traits when you consume anything wuxia is like that feeling of a protagonist getting more and more powerful, because like, you know, usually
they basically become like god tier.
Yeah, it's very supernatural choreography, you know. They're like kind of like
they're technically like superhero stories in disguise, technically.
Yeah.
Usually, every single wuxia story usually starts like this: the protagonist is super weak, but due to like some experience, maybe he encounters like a master, a mentor of some sort, and becomes super strong, or he discovers like a hidden treasure, and then he learns this martial art out of nowhere and becomes like a god. You know, it's usually that kind of story, like a lot of the times.
Yeah, so this game kind of has like gives you a little bit of taste of that, which I like, and because it very reminds you of that experience in wuxia media, where there's this like place you visit later on in the demo where you kind of get thrown in prison after you get ambushed by these bandits, because you're like raiding this bandit camp to like rescue some children that have been like kidnapped, and you heard that one of these children might be, you know, the daughter of your mentor. So you go there to investigate, but then you're thrown to jail after you get like overwhelmed by like a bandit ambush. In that prison, your mentor gave you like this manual or this journal that's like being seeked out by the other some other factions. They don't know why, but like your main character makes an attempt to like read some of it to like, you know, like kind of learn its secrets. So he gains like an incomplete cultivation skill out of it. There's like
Yeah, this sounds like a Rusha series I've seen. I was making a joke of this thing called the Sunflower Manual. This is a popular martial art in the Chinese media in wuxia. But Sunflower Manual is like the ultimate martial art in this one series. The only problem is, in order to master it, you have to castrate yourself, because it was used by Enoch, or whatever those things are called.
Eunuchs?
Eunuchs, yes. They were used by eunuchs, so the person castrated himself. And then it became like this hidden martial art that only the royal palace could use. And then in the storyline, these kind of like these tourists wanted to steal that martial art. So these tourists went in there, look at the manual, and both of them jot down different interpretations of it, because they're only allowed to look at it. They couldn't see the whole damn thing. So they came back with distorted versions of that manual because those two people have conflicting memories of looking at that manual. So I don't know. That sounds like that kind of idea.
Yeah, so your character is like, starts he has like a seed of like, of like a cool attack skill now. So he breaks out of that prison. He meets like this temporary party member. It's like they refer to her as the Lady in Red. She's really fucking good. Has like good skills. She's kind of like almost like an assassin almost that specializes like in fire skills. But like she basically aids you for to raid that bandit camp for her own means. You know exactly why yet. But along the way, you're gaining experience points on these meridian points, which is like the points that you use to like invest in like powering up your skills. A lot of meridian points out of like your encounters, and some of the encounters get you better equipment. So like you feel the growth of like your main character exponentially as you're going to this bandit camp. Of like you're getting a lot of meridian points to level up your skills and getting like really really good like weapons compared to like your starting gear. So like and along the way, there are like some treasure chests where like he starts getting some skills like besides like his normal special attack and like his basic stuff. Like he starts getting like you can feel the growth in your main character like through gameplay of that part. And like by the end of like when that character leaves your party after that raid on the bandit camp, like your main character feels much more competent in battle. It's like it's not like he's not like a god, but he's starting to become into his own. Like after that, it kind of feels kind of cool. It's like all right, like I actually do feel like a wuxia protagonist after this sequence. Like he's starting to become like really competent in combat and
Start
like
kicking ass.
yeah, yeah.
Sometime.
Yeah, so I really wonder what the scope of this game is. Like it seems to like really is trying to go for a lot of like different things in different factions, and it has an overworld map. The cool thing about the overworld map is like you see other NPCs just running around it that you can interact with if you want. And you go to like one of the bigger cities, you'll see a lot of NPCs running around too. So it does have like a nice like feeling of like sense and place, especially like in that wuxia setting.
I'm
China.
definitely intrigued.
Yeah,
Like most of wuxia's stuff I've seen, it's more like okay, it's kind of straightforward with like the superhero stuff. Your character becomes super strong as they grow, but usually a lot of these stories, it's filled with a lot of tragedy. A lot of shit usually goes wrong, like through the stories because of the people they know and their relationship being shattered because of what happens to them later on. It's usually how it goes. I think it's more about the tragedy than the character growth. Like, yeah, the character becomes like super strong at the end, but I think the shit that they go through to get there is kind of awful.
I really that's basically basically really intrigued like where the story like goes, like what kind of people like you'll meet along the way here, because because definitely wuxias have that flavor of like you never know who to trust in these stories because there's always a lot of backstabbing going on. It's kind of like a trope in wuxias of like getting backstabbed, So it seems promising. It seems like an early demo. I don't know when they plan to release it.
The Steam page says 2023, which could just be a placeholder. Who knows?
Yeah. So hopefully, they take some of the feedback of like, I think I don't like the side quest in this game. It's a very all typical fetch quest kind of boring stuff. I think I don't know, like this I guess it being a slow start is kind of like inherent to the genre in some ways. But obviously also just hopefully they get like something more flashier for the HUD and UI because it seems very basic on that aspect right now. But other than that, it's an interesting fusion. Like just I really like that like independent developers have like started messing with HD 2D and seeing what they can come up with it. Like HD 2D is here to stay. So I'm not about like should it stay or should it go. I'm just more like what can other people do with it, and that's what I like to see is like experimentation, seeing like what's how they interpret that engine, what sorts of like worlds will they imagine from it.
I think my biggest concern with the game would be probably the translation
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of like games that are published in China and if it has an English translation, it's kind of like not very the best. It's just
Obviously, hopefully, they touch up the English script as well, for because there are definitely some rough lines in this game. Like obviously, I don't know who
Like
their
we're not wanting to
translation
say it
partners.
at work, but a lot of the people that I know, like in China in general, they probably think it's like, yeah, just slap on English and just call it a day. They just don't really know if how like having higher quality translation would improve a lot of things. They just think like it's just it's English, then it works, right?
Oh yeah, this game is also really really good with like tooltips, like hover over tooltips. Like for what it's worth, like right now the demo that's out for limited time till like the end of February. It only can use keyboard and mouse right now for input, but I think they plan on having controller support at the final release. But the game is really good about like hover over tooltips, like even like stats at like over a character's page. Like what does the agility stat do? What does this stat do? Like when you hover over it, it'll actually give you a good description of like, okay, this is what this stat does, which is valuable for this sort of game because sometimes you can get kind of lost in the mix of like how different terminologies are like interpreted, and sometimes it's kind of overwhelming because like you can hover over like every skill like in combat too, and like it'll give you a pretty thorough breakdown of like what that skill does and their values and like what their effects are like after reaching a certain level threshold. And like I'm like, you could probably do like make that more consumable by making that like an expandable thing instead of like showing it to you always.
Looks like the publisher is Spiral Up. Spiral Up Games, which is a very small publisher. I guess this is the third game they've ever published. The other two look very small in scope, based in Singapore. Just saying that, it's not only is it a new developer, but kind of a young publisher as well. Yeah. But, it looks like everything is pretty promising on this game. And there is some discussion on the Steam page for people that have played the demo. And just seems like impressions have been relatively positive. But that's just me kind of gleaning through it really quickly over here.
Yeah, I think it's real promising. I would like to check out the full game. See how it all comes together. It's really cool. There is something to it.
One of the topics on the forum page is probably the best demo on Steam Fest. At least one guy's opinion is that.
That's a pretty good one. Chow, what have you been checking out for Steam Next Fest?
The only thing I tried out was the Grim Guardians.
Okay,
tee us up.
I tried it out too.
Yeah. Tee us up. Tell us what this is and why you tried it.
Okay, so I seen the trailer for it back like
again, the game is Grim Guardians,
which is the way they advertise it. It looked like kind of like a modern, was it Castlevania Portrait of Ruin? But I did not get that. I got classic Castlevania Portrait of Ruin.
Yeah. So people like, I'm fine with it, but like a lot of people when they first saw this, obviously when the Castlevania Portrait of Ruin was a Metroidvania, so expectations for this was like you're gonna have an explorable castle, and you're gonna access different parts of the castle by getting like power ups like at certain later points, and like castle like Metroidvania, Castlevania, like Symphony of the Night style exploration. But I didn't know this was like a classic Vania too. In this game, it's much more linear, like old school Castlevania, where you go through a stage, and then it's very linear. You get to the boss of the stage, and then you unlock like the next part, the next stage, which is still Castlevania. It's just a different flavor of Castlevania. It's like Castlevania before Symphony of the Night.
It's definitely not what I signed up for, but I'm okay with it. I could play that, but I think if it was a Metroidvania, I think my experience would be much better because I have a very good time with Portrait of Ruin. It's actually like one of my favorite games. I think it's just kind of like a little bit below Dawn of Sorrow, in my opinion. Dawn of Sorrow is just
Dawn of Sorrow is really good.
Yeah,
basic. I still like Symphony of the Night a lot.
Symphony of the Night is hard to beat. It's
like Guardian is better than Symphony.
Honestly, like might be one of the weird ones because I'm like because I flip between Symphony of the Night and Order of Ecclesia. I really like Order of Ecclesia also.
I like that one too, but I think I like that one more for the boss challenges. How you can get a little medal saying that you beat this boss while taking a hit. I like doing that in that game, and that's the only game that had those medals. So
yeah,
that's the one I like for that. But like gameplay wise, I like Portrait of Ruin the most because the dual swapping was kind of unique for its time.
Yeah,
wasn't really in the other games as much. But let's go back with or stuck within gameplay wise, and even story wise. This looks like a kind of like a parody Castlevania story.
Do you want to know? Do you want to know what this is, Chow, for the story?
Is it a Galgun?
It's a Galgun spin-off.
Yeah, it's in the universe.
Figure as much from the artwork, but like I'm not Like I wasn't 100% sure, right?
That was like one of the early things I remembered like from this game. It's like, oh, like when someone told me this like part of the Galgun universe, like, are you fucking serious? But I never played Galgun. Like, I'll tell
it's literally has the same initials as like Galgun Double Piece from Grimoire Demon Purge.
Oh, there you go. Oh shit.
Yeah, I guess that explains it.
But I think this one's weird because like I was definitely expecting like the Jonathan Charlotte kind of divided like skills. Like one's gonna be like the melee fighter, one's gonna be the magic, and this one's like one's definitely the melee fighter, has a sword, but the other one has like a gun and like I don't know, like I feel like the gun's like sort of useful-ish, but like the melee fighter.
The melee fighter is the best, but she is a glass cannon. She does not take a hit. It's like 2 hits, she's down. Okay, but I was playing in veteran mode, so maybe that's why. But
yeah, I mean, it's still the same in normal.
She was like dead like 2 hits, and you're like, okay. Shinobu is actually like decent in taking hits. Shinobu is the older sister with the gun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was a veteran also. You're right. Yeah, but I don't know. It's kind of a weird balance. Like I feel like this is like a weird thing because like you can play this game with another player. I think through locally. I don't know if it supports online playing the full game or whatever. I forgot, but like I feel like it'll probably be a better experience to play with another person than to play alone because like playing alone in this game is sort of miserable in the sense like okay, when someone goes down and one of the sisters goes down,
it'll be like game. You have to find her body and res them.
Yeah, you have to play the other sister, navigate through like the stage until you feel as you said, find the other sister and then like resurrect them, and then they'll be back. And like for me, I wish there was just a way to like kind of just like one sister goes down, so the other sister takes her place right there and then and there and continue the gameplay. Because like as it is like it feels like it's kind of tedious. While like I imagine like in multiplayer
they could just press you right there immediately.
Yeah, like it.
You know what that reminds me of?
What's up?
Donkey Kong Country 2.
Ooh, you're fuck.
When Diddy goes down, Dixie comes in, or the other way around.
I know, like
it's a different type of game, but
yeah, I know. But if I'm trying to remember, when you're playing that game solo, do you have to like navigate the whole level as Dixie again?
No, you can switch between the two of them. Unless one of them goes down, and then you have to use the other one.
Yeah. So in this one, when one of them goes down and you're in single player, you're transferred all the way back to like the beginning of the stage or like the last checkpoint or whatever as the other beginning of the room as like no, it's like a room or two back. I remember, and it's like you're playing as the other sister. And you have to navigate all the way back to where your sister died, or then you resurrect them, and then you can continue going. Well, I like you were describing, Adam, like what I wish for like if one of the sister goes down, you can still continue on as the other sister right then and there when you switch over to the other one right then and there.
You're forgetting this key detail in Donkey Kong Country. You have to find a DK barrel to get your resurrect the other Kong, right? So
Fucking put a DK barrel in this game. There,
Grim Guardian needs DK barrels.
That's right.
But yeah, like it's not bad. I just wanted something different, I guess, right?
Yeah, I get it. Like, like when you first like see this game and you're very much provided at Portrait of Ruin, you have expectations right then and there of like, okay, I think this is a Metroidvania because it looks like Portrait of Ruin. Like, I get it.
I think the weirdest part is like, do you play with a controller or a keyboard?
I played with a controller on this one.
I think the weirdest part is when you boot up the game with a controller, it asks you to set up your buttons first. I didn't know it.
Oh yeah. Like
I pressed like a bunch of random buttons on my like controller. Like, oh fuck,
nice. Yeah, that was weird too. Like in the copy off, is like, oh, there's a calibrate option right then and there on the main menu.
Who the hell does that right at the beginning? Like usually it's like after you kind of like start the game. Then
yeah, that you're right. That caught me off guard. I forgot until you just mentioned it. I
was like so caught off guard by that.
Like, but by the end of like the first stage and like half of the second stage, like I was like, okay, like, yeah, I'll check it out. Like a full release, like it's interesting enough to me to like see the whole thing. Like for me, for a demo, we were talking about it a little bit earlier before the podcast, but like for like usually on demos that I like, I probably won't complete the demo because like unless it's like for an assignment like the Wandering Sword, like the demo preview. But like if that was on like my own time, I probably wouldn't have completed that demo because after a certain point, I was like, okay, I'm already sold. I'm gonna buy this game. So like if I'm playing a demo and like I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get that game, like I usually just stop it right then and there. I'm like, okay, I'm sold. The demo did what it's supposed to do. If like I complete a game's demo that usually means that it took way longer for it to for them to sell me on it, or I just I'm not sure if I like it or not, if I managed to reach the end of the demo. Like probably I'm just weird how my brain works, but I'm just to me a demo is it has one thing that it has to do, is to sell me on the game. And if it does that, then I have no reason to continue playing the demo.
For me, it's I don't like demos. It gives me a false impression of the overall game, right? I don't know,
I mean, a good demo should not do that.
Well, I don't know, for certain games, I like the demo, but I hated the actual game. For example, Final Fantasy 15 was an example of that kind of game. I love the demo, but I hated the actual game. I hated driving a car to get to the locations, and it's just fucking annoying. But the demo sold me. It was a bunch of 4 guys that had to kill a fucking behemoth to get money to fix a car. What an amazing concept!
Demos for RPGs are hard.
Yeah, they're pretty different. Which demo was that? Was that episode Disque? Oh, yeah.
F-15 had demos. If I get in a car accident to fix a car, I will tell them I'll kill a behemoth for you to fix that car.
Mm-hmm.
Totally right?
I get you. I feel that. Yeah.
But anyways, speaking of Galgun, I think the only reason why I know Galgun was from watching a random Japanese TV show where they got the... do you remember the voice actress Maya Uchida?
Yeah, she's still active.
Yeah, she's still active. She's the voice of Zero for Dragon Guard 3, She actually plays one of the heroines in that game, and there was this episode where they tried to get her brother to woo her in Galgun. So it was awkward.
Good. Nice. That is peak Japanese TV right there.
They're both voice actors.
Yeah. I mean, but these variety shows are they're very wacky with that kind of stuff. It's pretty funny to be honest. Because they like to do that picture-in-picture mode for Japanese variety shows, right? So you get before you had live reactions on online media, Japanese TV did that a lot before, it was popularized.
That's the only way I know Galgun, just for that. But yeah, that's kind of my impression of the demo. It's just not what I expected. Gameplay's kind of okay. What was the thing that we forgot to mention? You had to manually reload with the gun, which is kind of weird.
You can. I mean, it'll still do the reload after you're done with all the bullets, I think, right?
No, it does, but it filled up so slow. It would probably take 2 minutes to get all the bullets back, because she has 100 bullets to start.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, you press double down real quick to get to instant reload, but it's just kind of weird. I don't think I played a game where you had to manually reload for a 2D platformer.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. Probably get around. I don't know if I'm gonna get on release date. It releases on February 23rd, but
it releases alongside everything else.
Yeah, I'll probably get around to it.
I'm not totally sold. I think I might prefer playing Gunvolt.
If it has online co-op, let's get it, John. Let's fucking online co-op.
Okay, if there is, I'll get it and we'll play it together.
Yeah, I think that'll be a more fun experience for that game. Continuing this round robin of demos, Brian, you have a demo for us.
All right, so I'm going to jump ahead to an announcement that was made during the Nintendo Direct. The rest of the Nintendo Direct we will cover, but I'm going to jump ahead to a news headline that Sea of Stars, an indie game that's also kind of made in an HD 2D-esque style, finally has a release date. It is releasing for PC, PlayStation consoles, and Switch on August 29th. And I believe this game did make our most anticipated list for this year. And there is a Switch demo that dropped alongside the Nintendo Direct. And even though the game's coming out for multiple consoles, and even though Steam is doing its big demo slew right now, this demo is only on Switch. But for this sort of game, that's fine, because it's at the very 16-bit inspired aesthetic. We've talked about this game in a few instances over the last couple of years. Obviously takes a lot of inspiration from games like Chrono Trigger, from games like Golden Sun, things like that. So I played this demo on the Nintendo eShop for Sea of Stars. It's very short. I think I got through it in 40 minutes, which is fine, because like Josh said, I just kind of wanted to get a taste, and some of the stuff that I recognized in the demo and experienced for the first time, I'm sure if you were the sort of person that reads every Kickstarter update as it comes through, all this stuff was announced. But one thing I did appreciate about this demo is that it is kind of not positioned at the start of the game. It doesn't give you a lot in terms of premise. It doesn't give you a lot in terms of here are your characters. It kind of plops you straight into the middle of it. which means you're a little bit lost narratively, but I think it's okay. You can kind of glean like, okay, here are my allies. Here, I don't know quite who the antagonist is, but here's the location. Here's my current goal. So you start out with your party of 3, which is the main 2 heroes, and then a third character. And I'll be honest, I didn't pay attention to their names because that's not really important to me.
I'm really bad with names and games in general. So
yeah, so you have the swordsman who also can do fire magic. You have the staff wielder who does. I'm not sure what the name of the element in the game is, but it's signified by a crescent moon, so like lunar magic. And then you've got this character who like uses a frying pan or a shield, awesome. and like does the cooking for you. Right. So he's kind of like your tag-along. I don't know. I don't know if he's long for this world. The thing that so this demo is very much more of a mechanical demo than a premise narrative story demo.
Oh, I like those.
It starts out with a little bit of story premise, and I guess I'll start out with the very first thing that you recognize when you play this demo is just this art style. And I wish I had the technical vocabulary to explain why it feels this way, but compared to any other game, this game makes me feel the most nostalgic for the Game Boy Advanced, like those RPGs, even if they were like Game Boy Advance ports of Super Nintendo games, because those are both like quote unquote 16-bit. I'm using that term broadly, but it's not quite HD 2D. It doesn't have like the depth of field or the bloom or the lighting effects, but it has the same like pixel art direction and color wheel choices that a lot of those 16-bit RPGs had. The lighting is very flat, and I don't mean that as like degradation, but they're not really going for depth here. They're not trying to make it paint it like a diorama or anything. It's just a very clean, very inspired 16-bit bold color art style. And I think it looks really, really good. Even on the Switch, I don't have a Switch OLED. I have a regular Switch, and I still think it looked really good in portable mode. Obviously, it's a low intensity game. I wasn't paying attention to what its frame rate was, 30 or 60. I guess for a game like this, I don't really like care too much about that. Yeah. But it ran fine. It didn't chug or slow or have long loading times or anything like that. So that was my first impression. And if you've been paying attention to any of the trailers, you already kind of know how this game looks, but it holds up. I thought it looked really good. Unlike games like Triangle Strategy or Octopath, where I have like these caveats, I'm not going to say this game is immaculate, but I don't have like a really big like, oh, I wish it didn't do this on a visual front. Like, no, it looks clean, it looks good. I really have no complaints. It looks exactly kind of how it's marketed and how I wanted it to. On the gameplay,
sorry, I was like one of those days that like I remember that the demo came out. I just like forgot that it came out because it only came out on one platform. But I think I'm like already sold on like what they've like shown so far. Like, okay, yeah, I'll definitely give this a shot. I don't know if like. For me, I was like, I don't know if I need to like play a demo to like, I think I want to see it for myself, like when it finally gets going, like the full release. So
yeah,
I was gonna ask, but is there like any like relation to this game to the Messenger? Remember, this is like supposed to be a prequel to that.
It's from the same developer. I don't know if those games are narratively connected, maybe loosely, but I don't think so, and I don't think it really matters. This is like an original story with its original cast.
Maybe it's technically a prequel to The Messenger, but I always think these sorts of canonical connections between these sorts of games are always
a bit tenuous. Yeah. But we'll see. Maybe maybe we're wrong. Maybe it's got this huge thing where at the end nothing makes sense unless you play The Messenger.
There we go. Okay, so yeah, sorry for interrupting, Brian. What were you going to say?
So you start out in like one of the port cities, and again, I'm terrible with names. I don't remember the city. I was more focusing on how the game plays rather than like trying to commit to memory the locations or the narrative. But you're in a port city, and you're trying to recruit the help of like a pirate gang. And what this little story snippet did was kind of set the bar for like how serious the story is. And it seems like the story is very much like, at least based on this very small snippet from the demo, the story is very like after school special. So not like for kids, but also not like grim, dark, super serious. It's got a lot of levity to it. So here's the story premise that you get. These pirates basically say that they will help you if you can beat one of their crew members in an arm wrestling match. So the chef character says like, I got this. I can beat this guy in an arm wrestling match. And this little skinny pirate comes up and he's like, all right, I'll try my best. Then he rips off his shirt and he's just like ripped to shreds. He's like buff as all hell. And then you're like, oh shit. And then he breaks the table and wipes the floor with you. And then they're like, haha, we didn't say we wouldn't use our magic shirt like that was hiding his like that was like hiding his physique, something
awesome.
like that. And then they end up helping you anyway. But that's sort of like little jokey, slapsticky sort of thing. I mean, obviously, I haven't played the full game. I've only played the demo. I have no idea how indicative that is of the tenor of the narrative. But if that's what they're letting the demo speak first hand, it's like, okay, this game is going to have hijinks and like have a little bit of levity. And like, I'm sure there's also going to be kind of like, once you encounter the antagonist and the big bad, it'll kind of straight lace itself a bit. But
that's a good first impression. That's like how you make like a good like first punch to it. That's like immediately charming. It's like, okay, all right, game, you're being cheeky.
And then the second part of the demo basically has you go through a kind of what I assume is an early game dungeon, and it kind of is a lot of things that doesn't do anything new, but it's got enough going on that I think, yeah, this is engaging, this is interesting. So you go into this dungeon. There's a platform in the center where you have to place colored crystals, and basically it's kind of like one of the dungeons in Zelda or Saga Frontier even had this, where you like place crystals on pedestals and they like shine light beams through mirrors, like a very, very classic dungeon puzzle trope. But it does it in a way where you actually had to think, and there was a little bit of optional objectives, and it wasn't like a turn your brain off puzzle, but it also wasn't frustratingly difficult. It had a good level of rigor to it. The combat, as anyone who has watched any of the previews of this game knows, is that it's very Chrono Trigger-esque, where you'll see a group of enemies on the playing field, and then as you encounter them, your characters will jump off to the side. Won't launch a new battle screen, like there won't be like a shattered screen like classic Final Fantasy style, but you'll go into combat mode where your characters will basically be able to initiate their abilities, and the enemies will all kind of be lined up as well. It's round based.
Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but if you played Chrono Trigger, it's like that. The combat is round based, so you have 3 characters, and how it works, at least the thing about this combat system is that none of this is tutorialized to you in like menus. It's just, hey, figure it out, which I actually kind of appreciated. It's not that it's that complicated, but I'm glad it didn't like spoon feed it. So it's round based. So you have your 3 characters, and any one of them can interact in whatever order you need. Above any enemy, there will be a little stopwatch with a number of turns remaining. So even though you have 3 characters, if there's a stopwatch above an enemy that says 2, it means you can only act twice before that enemy acts. So you say, okay, which 2 characters do I want to move before the enemy acts? So it's kind of round based, but kind of not. It's more like turn based, but you're free to choose who goes first, who goes second, who goes third. There might be a better name for that sort of combat. That's the general gist. It has your typical HP and mana pool. Skills require mana. In this demo, your mana pool is very limited. So you have like 8 mana, 9 mana, and your abilities take like 4 or 5. So you can only really do it once before you have to do, like, if you do regular attacks, you heal your mana back up a bit. So I kind of like that, where it's like you don't just use skills all the time. There's some RPGs that are balanced where you use skills all the time, and using a regular attack is almost a waste of a turn. Where in this game, it's like, okay, if I do a skill, I'm not going to have any mana for the next turn, at least in the demo balance. So I can either do a regular attack to build up some mana, or I can do a skill because I want to wipe out this enemy or get whatever the skill's bonus is. So you're using regular attacks and using skills pretty frequently. There is the system that reminds me most of actually Octopath Traveler. Remember in Octopath Traveler, and obviously that's another game that has a demo this week, that every character will have a list, every enemy in a battle will have a list of icons below them that says kind of what they're susceptible to for breaking. Oh, yeah. This game has a very similar thing. It doesn't appear above the enemy all the time. I'm not sure what triggers it, but when you engage a battle, above some or all the enemies, there will be like a sword icon. Okay, hit this enemy with a sword, or a hammer icon, or a sun icon, hit this guy with light magic, things like that. And if you are able to use your skills and abilities to basically knock off like the checkboxes, like, okay, I hit this enemy with a sword, I hit him with a hammer, and the last icon is to hit him with a boomerang. If you do that, it fills your combo meter more. So basically, you don't have to do that, but it's kind of a suggestion where it's like, hey, if you're able to hit the enemy with these types of abilities, we're gonna reward you for it. And sometimes it's like, oh, this enemy is gonna act in 2 turns anyway, so I'm not gonna bother. But sometimes it's like, oh, this enemy's not acting for 5 turns. Let me see if I can clear out his little icon bar so I can get the bonus for doing that. Your combo meter has like 3 pips So every time it fills up gradually, but every time you break an enemy's bar like that, it gives you a free pip. And then basically, if you've got 1 pip, you can do low-level combos, and these are also very Chrono Trigger-esque, the combos. If you got 2 pips, you can do the stronger ones, and 3 pips, you can do the most powerful ones. In the demo, you find a scroll and a treasure chest that teaches you new combos. So these combos are going to be sorts of things that you can find and upgrade in the wild. Levels are like your party has a level, which is kind of it makes sense because instead of all your characters just being around the same level, when you go in the demo from level 3 to level 4, all of your characters level up at the same time. It's like, oh, okay, that's just kind of cleaning up that a little bit. What else is there for the combat? Combat has some Mario and Luigi style button prompts. So whenever you attack, if you press the action button right before you hit, you do a little bit more damage. Every time they attack you, if you press the action button right before they hit, you take a little bit less damage. And this is one of the things I know they showed very early on in the marketing for it, like the Valerie, whatever the female protagonist's name, when she throws her magic boomerang, it will bounce off the enemies, and you can keep pressing A to keep bouncing it, like Ocarina of Time final boss style. And so basically, the more you get that timing right, the more damage you do, the more enemies it'll hit. That does kind of interface well with the break bar system that I talked about. For instance, if an enemy has 3 boomerang symbols on it, and then you use her skill that can bounce off the enemy and back as many times as you can get the timing right, you can knock off all 3 in a single skill. Some of them are less interesting than others, like the male protagonist move is like a fireball spell, and you just hold A until it's the max size, and then you let go and it does the most damage. It's a little bit less interesting, but obviously if there's a lot of characters and a lot of party members and things like that, it kind of brings, I always thought that the Mario and Luigi style button input or Paper Mario style button input is kind of an easy, effective way to bring a little bit more direct input to a turn-based game.
Kind of a bummer to think that Alpha Dream is dead.
That was Adam's first thought on this. I was like, you know what?
There will never be another Mario and Luigi game.
Thanks, Adam.
Just tell Nintendo to make one.
It's a shame.
But
Also,
yeah, that sounds good. Go for it.
Also, I don't think anyone really was too hot on any of the Mario and Luigi games after Bowser's Inside Story.
The demo was actually fairly challenging, and not challenging where it's like, wow, I can't beat this. But in a lot of games, you get a lot of potions or elixirs or ethers or whatever, and it's almost balanced in a way where you don't have to use them unless you're playing really poorly. But in this game, it's like, man, I'm glad I'm given this supply of potions because I'm using them. So it actually feels like having an economy of items, and there's like a very rudimentary cooking system where you can get like ingredients and cook up potions and things like that. And just even from the small snippet of the demo, it's like, oh, okay, these are actually valuable. I should go to the campsite and actually cook up some potions because I might need them because they're actually helpful. When a character dies in battle, as far as I can tell, there is no Phoenix Down or revive items, but they will kind of naturally revive a few turns later with like partial HP. Which I'm kind of like, that's an interesting way to balance. But basically what it means is when you're fighting a boss, you might be juggling like characters going to down state and coming back if you manage to not wipe before, they're able to revive themselves. So that's kind of an interesting... What?
Lost Odyssey.
I guess it's been so long since I played that, but yeah, I guess they did do that.
The immortal characters revive themselves eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually, so
would be a fun concept to play around with that. You should be able to like pre-put an item on them in advance, so you can plan out they revive on this turn, and the very next turn the character goes, like the next character that acts after them uses an item on them because you already anticipated that they were going to revive on that.
I specifically remember a Lost Odyssey boss where like all my characters are dead except one. But I just had to keep that one person alive for like 2 more turns, so then the other 3 would like revive themselves on the next turn.
And that didn't happen for me in this demo, but I could easily see it being it's a 3-person party. So I could see it if you've got 2 characters that go down on the same turn, you've got 1 character left. Basically, you could just be like, all right, I'm going to have this character just go on the defensive and just stay alive until the other 2 pop back up. And I don't know if maybe that was a demo thing. It felt a bit strange to me because it's like, wait, why did they revive? So I don't know if that's just the natural balance of the game or if I had some sort of option enabled. Yeah, they're all immortals apparently. So that's what I experienced in the demo. The puzzles have enough variety and interest to them. So in this dungeon, you have 3 different colored crystals, and basically you have three crystals and 3 pedestals. To get to the final room of the dungeon, you have to put all 3 crystals on the 3 pedestals to open the final door. But you can like pair them up, and so there's 6 different possible combinations to open up all the different. I guess only 3 unique combinations versus permutations, math or whatever. But you can like access a few secret rooms. That's where I got the combo scroll and a few other items. But yeah, the demo is pretty short. You can play through it in like 40 minutes. But basically, I didn't see anything that was like, wow, completely unexpected. But I'm like, everything that I saw was really solid. It was a decent level of challenge. It had kind of like a level of whimsy that I didn't think was like cringeworthy or poor fitting. I think the game looks really pretty. So yeah, basically, thumbs up, excited. It didn't overstay its welcome, the demo. It doesn't even like give away a lot of the story in terms of like, I still have no idea like what the premise of the game is, and I guess I probably could if I go to the Kickstarter page, but I'll just let the story tell it to me as I play it.
Yeah, I'm excited
when it
for
releases.
I really want to try it out. What was the release date again?
It was this was just announced this last week, and it's releasing on August 29th. So not in the immediate future, but something to look at down the road. So I think if I remember right, that's around the same time Baldur's Gate 3, which I know is a very completely different style of game, is releasing. So I'll have to double check what the release calendar looks like late in the year. But yeah, Sea of Stars, very quick demo, but kind of everything that I was expecting it to be, and wasn't surprised in any way. But I think in this case, that was a good thing. Pleasantly surprised. I said wasn't surprised, then almost said pleasantly surprised. But what I expected, still eager, still interested, good, solid. It presents itself pretty well.
Yeah, just a final quick rundown. Like I played some other games very fast. There were some. But first, like a few I didn't like, that I expected to like. I tried out After Image, Affogato, and Bancho Tactics. I think for Bancho Tactics, it feels very early. It's like it's that strategy RPG game, but with with the Bancho sort of like aesthetic to it. It just feels very basic at the moment, just like normal attacks and like fill up a meter for special attacks. It kind of English translation to it is awful at the moment. If you want to play a demo that does not read well at all, play that demo, I guess. It did not make first impression. Affogato is kind of like it's kind of like that interesting aesthetic game, but like the reverse tower defense for the gameplay, where like you're kind of moving that path, but like you're using like these cards to like summon like these demon underlings, like navigate the level. And then there's another aspect to it where like you open up a cafe to like make coffee for people. I think the reverse tower defense gameplay got like a little bit repetitive, so like it just didn't make a great first impression. It might be really good at the end, but like at the moment, I just didn't really like demo. After Image, it has like it's a really 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 pretty like sort of Metroidvania type of game, but I think the way it really rolls out its mechanics early on feels really too slow, and like it really didn't do much for me overall. Maybe it'll be really good at the end, but like I think it just makes a really poor first impression. The ones I really did like Gravity Circuit. It's like a Mega Man X clone, but it has like interesting mechanics to spice it up. It has like a grapple hook to like swing around levels. Your tools, you're like kind of like a ninja, so most of your tools are like melee based, and you have like meters to fire off different special attacks. It has a good flow, good momentum, good responsiveness to it. Definitely worth checking out. I feel like Mega Man X games. There's another one called Gestalt, Steam, and Cinder, and this is like a side-scrolling, like pixel action RPG.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I know that Adam expressed interest in that game, I think, a long time ago, like back when it was first kickstarted.
Yeah, it's been in development for a while. It's interesting.
Yeah, the demo is really neat for it. I don't think I've heard of it until recently. So really great like character design. Like you kind of play like, I guess the best way I can describe like the main character is just like it's like a woman, like a red or pink haired woman that kind of has like an Indiana Jones type of.
It looks
outfit.
like a female Van Helsing.
Almost, yeah. So your kind of main 2 weapons at the very beginning are like upgrading this sword combo and like very very limited use gun that like you can eventually infuse like as a stun shot, and like your main like enemies of them are kind of like robots of different sorts, and like as you're going through them, you level up. There's like a whole skill tree system. Like it feels like a very tightly designed, deliberate game. I cannot follow the plot at all in that game. Maybe it'll be better presented in the final product, but it just feels very very strange, I guess is the best way to put it. But it feels very compelling too. The one that really caught my eye because it's definitely my kind of game is called Phantom Brigade. I know it's been like in some sort of beta or early access at Epic Game Store for a while now, but its full release is coming to Steam and Epic Game Store soon. It's sort of like a strategy game, isometric. At first glance, it'll look like XCOM, but it's very different than that. I guess the best way I can sort of summarize its gameplay in a few words, like it's like Frozen Synapse, but with mechs. So as you're navigating around the battlefield, like different types of mechs.
Sorry, Josh, but when you said this was your style of game, I bit my tongue. I was like, I wonder if this game has mechs. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I get it. I know where I stand. So when you're like navigating throughout the field, like every action that you do, whether it's like running to a certain spot, when you're waiting, when you're like taking aim with your shots, it'll preview you like the next 5 seconds of every, whether it's ally or enemy on the battlefield. So it'll show you exactly on a timeline where they'll be at a certain point and whether they're like going to attack something or attack you. So you kind of plan around that and kind of like construct a timeline. Like when you're like editing videos and you see that timeline when you're editing videos, it sort of looks like that on the interface, which is very neat. Like and like the progression system reminds me of like Front Mission. So like after every battle, like you can like have these certain amount like a salvage budget. So like when you defeat enemies, like they might like drop like their weapons or like their head, their torso, their arms, their legs, but you can only salvage a certain amount of it, and then the rest either like they're like scrap it for like currency or like just abandon it. And like scrapping it will take less of that salvage budget. So you kind of have to work around that. So that's a really cool concept that like it's kind of like for people who like Front Mission, I think they'll really like the Phantom Brigade. It has a lot of interesting things going for it, especially that timeline system. Another game that I really liked, it's an RPG called Inkbound. Actually, it's kind of like a light RPG. It's like a roguelite. It's more of a roguelite, but does have RPG elements. This is made from the developers of Monster Train. So well, like I guess I want to point like there's one specific feature in Inkbound that I really want to point like focus to. It's like its battle system. It's isometric. It'll look like Torchlight or Diablo at first, and you expect it to be an action RPG with the way it moves. But when you initiate an encounter, it's not an action RPG. Like it's actually a turn-based game that looks like an action RPG, and it's very positional focused. And so interface is like on one half of the interface, you have your HP. On the other half, you have like this other sort of this point system that shows how many moves you can make, like action points. So you have this hot bar that shows like these 3 attacks. There's like 3 classes in it. I chose like this ninja character with a shuriken. It had like your basic attack with a shuriken, like a dash move that like it'll mark enemies of whoever you dash through, and then if you hit them again, it'll be a guaranteed crit. And then they have another like powered up move as their third skill that like do more damage based on like the amount of like shurikens that like you've stored up. So there'll be like you said, Ryan, like with Sea of Stars, like it's very hands off. Like it'll show you like basic controls, but like how to actually read the interface. Like I was kind of lost at first because like every time you move around the battlefield, like things are still frozen until like you actually take like until you kind of like pass your turn. You can still move around, but you have to be very deliberate on how you move around. There'll be 2 values whenever you move around, one in red and one in blue. And what these values mean is like how much damage you're going to take next turn and how much points are you going to use up with your current actions. So depending on how many enemies there are, their position to you, that red value can change depending on how well you're positioned in relation to your enemy. So that can be like, it could be flow rotating like 11, 10, 3, 2, and that'll show like when you end your turn, that's how much damage you're going to incur as soon as you end your turn. The blue number shows when you use a skill, how much of your action points are you going to consume? Because there are zones on the ground that'll actually like, if you stand in these zones and use a skill, it'll take off like 1 less action point that it might have taken off. So let's say a skill takes 2 action points. If I'm standing in that certain blue zone, it'll only take up 1. So pair that up with like skill markers from enemies and especially bosses that like show like their next attack, like they may be running through you. So it becomes and as this encounter is going, there's also like a poison field that surrounds like the battlefield. Like if you can't stall during battles, because this field like is consistently closing, almost like a battle royale. Like there's these damage zones that are like enclosing on you. So you're kind of encouraged to like kind of end battles as fast and as efficiently as possible. So that makes the positioning and action point economy very, very strategic. And as you're going through this, it's kind of like done like in roguelike runs, where like after you do an encounter, you'll like get rewards, like get like new passives, get new like skills, or maybe get like new stats, like leveling up your crit chance or crit damage, or maybe you know that sort of stuff. And then after that encounter, you go like into like to like the next part where like there'll be like 3 branching points saying, okay, you can go here and you can get a chance to heal your health, or you can go here and go to this encounter, or you can go here. It's like a treasure room. So you gain one of those and you continue down along the path until you reach like the boss. Sort of like a roguelite, sort of like branching path sort of thing, like a Slay the Spire, for example, when you're like kind of making decisions on like where you want to go. So that's a really, really interesting game that I really urge people to check out whenever they get the chance, whether it's the full game or maybe the demo. I don't know if the demo's still going to be up after Steam Next Fest, but it's a really cool demo.
Yeah, as you were talking about it, I was watching and had the Steam page pulled up, and I was watching some of the trailers, look at some of the screenshots. It reminds me of some sort of combination of 80s, obviously for the roguelike elements, but the art style seems more like Bastion. But of course, neither of those games are turn-based, so like neither of those comparisons are absolutely quite correct. So it seems like this is a fun combination of familiar elements packaged in a way that isn't quite like another game that I can draw to mind.
Yeah, so it's cool. It's cool. It's definitely worth like a little bit of time if you're interested in that. And then the last one that a lot of people have been talking about, obviously, is Radio the Universe. I know this has been like a crowdfunded for like ages now, and people have been really anticipating it. It's
What's the
like
game?
Radio the Universe.
Okay.
It's sort of like I don't know how to describe like the art style. It's kind of like
Hyperdrift.
Not even a hyperdrift. It's kind of like a post-apocalyptic punk sort of like premise.
The pixel art is sort of like Hyper Light Drifter. The
palette
is different, but
I don't know how you like describe the palette. It's very junk, like junkyard type.
Monochrome. How's that?
Sorta.
It's grayed out, washed out, very distorted.
It reminds you of like original Game Boy. But it's very, it's like, obviously like the gameplay is very like Zelda-esque in it. Its presentation, it's very, very stylish. It's going for a certain type of aesthetic, but as in its pursuit of like nailing this type of like kind of junkyard-esque type of aesthetic, like the way it presents info to you is a little bit obscure at times because it's like trying to fulfill a style, and like it kind of clashes with like readability at times. I don't know if I really liked it. It's kind of like a half like for me. It kind of got interesting by the end, but I don't know. Like I can see why people are anticipating it, but I'm just like,
I'll let you play that. The upgrade UI is god confusing. It's like you're looking at a broken Game Boy or something. It's like all distorted messages, and then you have to like double check the skill before a subtitle comes out to tell you what it does.
Yeah,
it was very confusing.
It's weird. So I don't know, but that's just a quick rundown of like Steam Next Fest demos I'm checking out. Obviously, whenever Steam Next Fest comes around, I try to play a good chunk of demos because it's kind of like it's sort of like Christmas for me because it gives me a chance to go play like a bunch of like upcoming indies and see like all the cool things like indies are like developing. Like it's prime time for that.
The only other thing that I grabbed a demo from the Steam Next Fest, but I haven't tried it yet, and that's Dark Envoy. This is like a dark, I don't know much about the game, but it's like a dark high fantasy traditional CRPG. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to try this game out. So I got the demo for that, but I can't say anything more because I haven't played it yet. Maybe by next week if we get a chance to talk about it between all the other games that are coming out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I did also play. This is also kind of jumping ahead with one of the minor announcements of the Nintendo Direct. I was playing through some of the Fire Emblem Engage, the second wave of DLC. They announced that Soren, Hector, and who's the last one? A third character. Who is it?
Camilla. Everyone's favorite Fire Emblem Fates character.
That's one of the games I did not play in the series. We're added to the game, so I figured. So I have like an end game file, quote unquote. So I figured, I'll try these out. And it's pretty much exactly what you think it is. There are new Divine Paralog for these. You get a new Emblem ring. So now there's like, if you have all the DLC, you have like 17 Emblem rings. So you'll never really need to make like one of those generic bond rings again, even though it's kind of fan service to see like Nefany or whoever show up there. There's really no gameplay point to making a non-Emblem ring anymore if you have the DLC. I've only really messed with Soren, and his thing is that he has like a long range bolting spell, which is kind of fun because I don't think any other emblems have an emblem weapon that is a long range ability. So that's kind of neat. But other than that, it's pretty much
just
exactly
Lynn does.
Oh yeah, Lynn. Yeah. Okay, so I use that. I use that one a lot, so I feel bad that I missed it. But yeah, so now you have another option for a magic long range ability, which obviously has been a thing in the games for a while with bolting and meteor and things like that.
My friend is very happy with the news because he's a big Hector fan.
Everyone's a big Hector.
Half of our staff is, and people were like, when they announced this, is like they finally remembered Hector exists.
And everyone's
It's
like,
true.
guys, Ellie Wood's Lord. I'm like, it's like who? Ellie who?
Ellie Wood.
Well, even in his own game, Hector's version of the story has like all the detail, like the full picture.
It's so weird how in Fire Emblem 7, like Hector's version has like extra chapters with extra stuff. So like when you get to that point where you get to choose who you get to play as,
there's
why
no
not do Hector?
You're also missing that one of the Pegasus Knights if you don't play as Hector. So there's that too.
Yeah. So I guess we might as well cover the Fire Emblem thing right now since we're on it. Like, so they released Wave 2 with Hector, Soren, and Camilla, and then Wave 3 they'll have Chrome and Robin from Awakening as like as a pair in the same ring. So Chrome and Robin will be together, and then as a separate one they'll have Veronica from Fire Emblem Heroes there. Veronica actually interests me because I guess her perk is like summoning like a random hero on the battlefield.
It even has the Fire Emblems summoning UI implemented.
Yeah, it's so funny actually, dude. I love gacha in battle.
So you summon a Fire Emblem hero to summon another Fire Emblem hero?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it actually shows like when you summon them, like it'll show like they're like Fire Emblem hero stars. Like when they summon like Ike in the trailer, it's like 5 stars. Ike. It's like, yep. Great. Awesome. And then the last wave 4 for Engage expansion pass is like a new story, like the Fell Xenologue new story. So that's
now,
what they
in Xenoblade, which we'll talk about in a bit. There's some avenues we can contemplate where like an expansion story will go. But Fire Emblem, I have no idea. Three Houses expansion was just like we randomly have like the underground class of like cave dweller students that just happen to be there the whole time, I guess.
Yeah, that one was weird. Yeah, like they were that's how they were like kind of pitching it. It's like, yeah, there's like this underground like sort of like delinquent.
Is that what we call them? Cave dwellers.
I mean, I call them delinquents.
People had funny names for them, just like the students that live like in some underground.
I can't even tell you their actual names, like something wolves, I think.
Happy, Constance. Oh, I was like the character names. I don't remember. I don't remember the class name.
Yeah, I was like the full faction name. I don't know. Great cave dwellers. That's it. Nailed it.
Well, with that, I think we'll go over to the news, and we've kind of teased a handful of it. Obviously, most of this is going to be centered around the Nintendo Direct. There's one quick thing that I will shout out before we get to the news. This is another feature that went up on the site, and this is a late review from last year, but Colin Black was able to put up a review for Harvestella. So Harvestella is a game that we've spent a few opportunities late last year talking about on the podcast, because I know I've played through it. I know James has played a bit of it as well, talked about our impressions with it. And then Cullen was able to write up his thoughts and put them up on the site formally as the RPG site review for Harvestella. I'll be honest, though, I have not read his review, but I know that he was speaking pretty promisingly on it in chat.
His biggest thing he liked the most about it was the characters and the character writing, which is kind of mimics what you were saying, Brian, earlier when you were talking about it. He really liked the characters and how their narratives are written into the game. He said the gameplay itself is just kind of like fine. It's more of a vehicle for the tone and the characters, and of course the story does kind of go places, but the characters are what he was highest on.
Yeah, I think the character writing is more interesting and impressive than the narrative in that game. But the fact that game is like a gateway farming sim that leans more JRPG than farming sim in many ways. So you just want to get a taste of the farming sim aspect, but something that plays and behaves a lot more like a standard action JRPG, that's kind of what Harvestella is, which is kind of a niche that isn't occupied by a lot of things. So kind of a nice little spot for it. And I did have it in my top 10 list for last year. So a surprisingly good game that hopefully doesn't fall under the radar. So glad we were able to get up a review for it. And then on to the Nintendo Direct. So the Nintendo Direct, obviously, as every Nintendo Direct does, has basically a lot of news, both expected and surprising, and often in the RPG space or RPG adjacent space. And I could list basically a whole bunch of things as like, what do we talk about first? And I'm going to put out one of the things that I think is probably the most interesting to what I presume our audience is interested in, and that is a remaster announcement for a Monolith Soft product, Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD Remaster, announced for Nintendo Switch, releasing this summer. So I do know that this is a series that a few of us here have thought very highly of, weren't ever sure that we'd ever see again, or I say series, at least one of the game in this duology of games. So Adam, I know that you've played both of these games. When you hear about an HD remaster for Baten Kaitos and Baten Kaitos Origins, what's your impression of that?
This is going to sound really pathetic, but
okay.
my first immediate thought is that it's not releasing on PC, and I'm like bummed out about it. Like, it's a Monolith Soft game. It's also, well, the thing is like, I thought there was a chance it could release on PC because it's like a Bandai Namco published game. Like, Bandai Namco is the one who sends out like the press release and the assets for this, not Nintendo. The developers of this game there's actually two, it's co-developed. It's Monolith Soft, which everyone knows, and Tri-Crescendo, which not everyone knows. It kind of spun off of Tri-Ace a long time ago. I thought even though Monolith Soft is a Nintendo developer, I thought there was a chance that this game could be multi-platform, but it's not. It's Switch only. And I know this might sound like shallow of me, but that kind of bums me out. Like, oh, I have to buy it on Switch? Okay.
Anyways. Adam has reached that stage.
So, Baten Kaitos, for those who aren't aware, is a duology that released on Nintendo GameCube, I believe in 2003 and 2006. So, Baten Kaitos 1 and Baten Kaitos 2. Now, Baten Kaitos 2, which is what is known as in Japan, is actually a prequel. Literally a prequel in every sense of the word. And so, in the West, it was referred to as Baten Kaitos Origins. I know both of these games released in North America. I don't know if either released in Europe. I know at least one of them didn't. So that's good for European fans. They'll get a chance to play both games for the first time, like as an official release in their region. So these games are they kind of lean closer to like a more traditional, typical Japanese RPG in terms of like you get a party, you go on an adventure. It is sort of turn-based, but what these games are is they're like card-based RPGs, and the battle system between the two games is pretty different. I won't go into all the details now. But the first game has more of like a phase-based, like attack phase, defense phase, sort of card battling system, where the second game is more of like this paced, real time. You get a deck, you put cards together to have like a hand that creates a combo. And I think the second game, which is Baten Kaitos Origins, I think that game's like combat stylings and battle system and like design around that is honestly really, really good. Like, it's excellent. It's probably my favorite Monolith Soft game, better than any Xenosaga or Xenoblade or whatnot. Now, these two games, so we learned that the Switch, or that the remaster is coming to Switch. It will be Japanese voice only. That's interesting in a sense because the original Baten Kaitos has a legendary bad English dub, like extremely bad, very, very poor.
You know what's funny though? If you buy the Japanese version, the intro is in English,
and it's not the English. Like, it's different from the English version.
Yeah, the official English version is worse than what was shown in the original Japanese opening English. Somehow they got worse English voice actors in the official version. I don't know how that works.
The fact that these games aren't dual audio because they're Japanese only, the reason why that's disappointing is because of Baten Kaitos Origins. That game has an extremely good English localization and English dub. It was done by 8.4, and almost everything done by 8.4 is well done, like Nier, for instance.
But Internal Wings is a different story.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, it's no big deal for one of the games, but kind of a big bummer for the other. So Japanese voice only on Nintendo Switch. I believe they put up a Q&A for it, like 1080p, 30 FPS. It's a port of a GameCube game.
What's really bizarre is the text languages, because for the first game they have English, French, Italian, German, and Spanish, and then for Origins it's only English for that one.
I wonder if was the original game released in Europe and maybe they translated it way back when? Let me check.
I don't know.
If I remember right, Origin is the one that never made it to Europe. So maybe
the original game was translated to other languages before. I apologize. I don't know which of these translations are perhaps new or not.
Yeah.
So the original game. Okay, I checked. The original game did release in Europe back in 2005. So perhaps they had translations from back then. I'll just admit I don't know. So Origins, which is in my opinion the better game of the two, with North America only. The other element to these games that is kind of unique to them, which I think not a lot of RPGs do, Western or Japanese, is they use this sort of card system in every aspect of the game, where you get items, consumable items, quest items, kind of collectible items, and everything is embodied and envisioned as a card. And there's a little bit of an adventure game element to this, where you can use cards in certain places, like in the world, on the map, in cities, to do quests, to like get new items and things like that. Almost like a point and click to a very small degree. And I think that's very interesting, the way that these worlds are built and how like this card system that's both used in battle and outside of battle is used.
I feel bad for mentioning this, but the way you're describing that is all I can think of, since I didn't know anything about Baten Kaitos' gameplay before now. That just sounds like Paper Mario Sticker Star.
It's better than that, for sure.
It inspired the Xenoblade 2 field skills.
Every time when I think of a cards battle system, I think FGO, Fate Grand Order.
Oh boy! So like when we're thinking about like what are like the new features of this game, right? They said hey, you can turn off the encounters if you want. There's auto battle. You can skip the cutscenes. Auto save now. So just basic accessible stuff, like some features for people. They said there's like no new content they're introducing in these versions, so there's not like any tacked on stuff. And it looks, it's not like completely remade graphics. It looks it looks higher res, but it looks like as you remember it, So it looks cleaner, it looks sharper. I don't know if they have like any future plans. Like, hey, how I wonder how well this will like do, because I think on some level it's coming out at an opportune time when people are like they're more accepting of like card-based battle systems opposed to like when these are first like released. I think the modern market now is like more open to that style. But like how things like Slay the Spire, Monster Train, all sorts of other card-based battle systems, even stuff like Hearthstone, like people like cards now more than they did back then for in video games.
I'm gonna say I don't remember the game being very successful back then.
Yeah, that's the thing. So but I wonder now, like you pair that up now with Monolith Soft being way bigger than they were back then and more well known back then as well. I wonder, hopefully this finds its audience and does, I'm sure it'll do better than it did back then.
I wondered, does this tells them that they would do a Xenosaga remaster down the line?
Well, Xenosaga might be weirder because I think Nintendo has its hands in Baten Kaitos and they don't have their hand in Xenosaga.
Yeah.
So there was that tweet from like 3 years ago where was it Harada?
It was Harada, yeah.
That basically said like, yeah, we did the market survey on a Xenosaga remaster, and basically the numbers don't add up. So
would the numbers not add up for this as well?
Well, maybe this was not Bandai's decision. Maybe it was Nintendo's. I don't know.
It's very specific. I think there's an avenue at least, right? It's not like completely off the table where they won't work with Bandai Namco again. At least this like shows like, hey, they're willing to collaborate with Bandai Namco on releasing a product. Again, if anything, right? So
if anything, if this is successful or even moderately so, it potentially could give Bandai a reason to look at it again. I guess I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's the most charitable way of looking at it.
Yeah.
So this is a cool this announcement was like kind of very heavily rumored like a few weeks back, right?
because of trademarks and things like that.
Yeah, but it was definitely one of the most like no fucking way types of announcements, and then it came out and then they announced like, wow, holy shit! I
think it was like almost probably maybe 1 or 2 years ago there was that trademark, and the thing with trademarks is that very frequently a trademark renewal can just be like, we are literally just renewing it just to hold on to it. It can be an old franchise that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
In this case, the reason why there was a little bit of an eyebrow raise more so than normal is that it was trademarked in Europe. And it's like, wait a minute. Baten Kaitos Origin never released in Europe. Why would they have a trademark? So we'll see. That's this other. We know why. So
the next announcement that I have listed from the Nintendo Direct is a game announcement, and that is for Fantasy Life I, the girl who steals time. Am I pronouncing that right, or is that I like a stylistic thing? I'm not 100% sure. But Fantasy Life
assumed it was an imaginary number I.
Okay, Fantasy Life, the girl who steals time, was announced being published by Level 5 and is basically a follow-up to the original Fantasy Life from Nintendo 3DS over a decade ago.
Wait a second, Brian. Wait a second.
What?
Level 5 is publishing a game in English?
What?
The comeback story of Level 5, guys.
What about Yokai Watch 4? Are we still getting that? They announced it, right?
So here's the thing. Josh swears that they announced the Yokai Watch 4.
I'm
doubting you.
Jesus Christ. Look.
They did at an Anime Expo panel.
They did.
There's no evidence of this.
Seriously, yeah, pretty much. And I feel like I'm the only one who ever fucking mentioned it in the public. And like the only people that will support that are the people who are actually there.
No, I know a few other people who are in that room. But they're the only people who can say that it never happened.
I swear, it's like one of those things that like you get told enough that like you get gaslighted enough that like you didn't happen, dude. I'm like,
was that
dude? Oh my god, it's like a group hallucination.
For those who are maybe confused, Level 5 at Anime Expo like 5 years ago or whenever it was did announce Yokai Watch getting localized, but that was literally like a month or maybe not even a month before they shut down the Level 5 Abbey, which was their localization team. So they never released a press release. They never put up a video. They never tweeted about it. But they apparently announced it at a panel that the Yokai Watch 4 was getting localized. And of course, we all know it never did. So
like they said like please don't take any like photos or videos. So I was like, I was respecting that. And in hindsight, I should just fucking taken the video. I should fuck you.
Level 5 had a they had a presence in this Nintendo Direct that like everyone expected. With this Fantasy Life game, of course, being the first title that we're talking about.
Yeah, like the rest. I feel like if there was like one like takeaway from this Nintendo Direct, it's just the corpse of like Level 5 like rising from the ashes like a glorious phoenix, because it's like holy shit, where this
of various coffins. People.
were they really actually dead? They were doing that Kuni
MMO. Okay.
That Kuni MMO probably saved them.
What was the last Level 5 game you played?
Dragon Quest 8, guys.
That doesn't count.
So yeah, okay. Here's a thought experiment, Adam. What was the last Level 5 game you played? What was the last Level 5 game you enjoyed?
Played? Mm-hmm. It would literally have to be like Rogue Galaxy. I never played White Knight Chronicles. I never played Yokai Watch. I didn't play like any of the Layton games.
Did you play Ni no Kuni too?
Oh, I did play Ni no Kuni. Yeah, okay. I played those, and both Ni no Kuni games are like,
Okay, so what was the last Level 5 game you enjoyed?
Probably, I think Rogue Galaxy is okay. I know some people love it. I don't love it. Dark Cloud 2 is also okay. I'm going to say like the PS2 era, Level 5 made okay games.
Great.
Sorry, I'm not a huge Level 5 game.
I feel like already laying down the path of like Level 5 games we're about to discuss. They're like, Level 5.
well, Adam, it's understandable. You did not have a Nintendo DS in middle school, which means you never saw the vision with Professor Layton.
You had no childhood.
Look, man, I'm just saying.
Is this where I chime in and say the DS came out when I was in high school?
Hell yeah. So, look, I'm just saying, no one here is a true Mega Level 5 fan, okay? If we were all true Level 5 fans, you would be playing Megaton Musashi right now. But you're not. You would be playing the Ni no Kuni MMO and spending tons of crypto right now.
I watched the Layton movie. Does that count?
No, of course not.
Be clear that Ni no Kuni MMO is like operated by Netmarble, but of course, Level 5 has like license.
I mean, that's the IP owner, yeah.
If you were a Level 5 fan, you would remember that mobile game that they shut down that had Inafune on it, right? You would remember that MMO or that mobile game and have fond memories of it. Like, yeah, that was.
Oh, hey, fun fact. The specific part of Level 5 developing this Fantasy Life game is actually Concept.
Oh,
yes. See, we wrapped it back around. All right, let's.
like firsthand familiar with Fantasy Life. I know some people who really love Fantasy Life. I've never played it myself.
I never played a Fantasy Life. I'll be honest.
I think I played the demo on the 3DS, but never got the full game.
I think we need like Paige for that. I think she's the Fantasy Life expert on RPG site. The last I heard of Fantasy Life was the mobile game. Yes.
One of our staff friends over at Touch Arcade, Sean, he made the hot take that Fantasy Life is the only good game that Level 5 has ever made.
The hearts.
Well, I mean, look, I'm willing to believe that. You know?
I trust that dude's opinions, so I'm sure Fantasy Life is a good game.
Look, I'm thinking about like the last the Level 5 game I enjoyed. Like I meme about White Knight Chronicles too because my brain is broken. Because I was a White Knight Chronicles online player who did like all the weapon proficiencies and like Stockholm syndromed myself into like liking it. Like, yeah, I'd love the grind. It's great. What are you talking about? You know.
Just to be fair, I know a lot of people do love like the Layton games, which they did announce another one of those. Of course, we won't cover it, not really in our wheelhouse. And I know a lot of people like the Fantasy Life games. I just don't want to be, so down on, Level 5 when I play.
But it's also one of those things like as RPG players that like have played a good bunch of Level 5 games in the past, like me and you and Adam, like it's probably unfair to like modern Level 5 now, but like our expectations are kind of like, oh, it's Level 5. Okay.
I don't know how people have such a negative experience with them. Don't they have? I don't know. Like,
what was the last Level 5 game you enjoyed, Chow?
Dragon Quest 9? Does that count?
Jesus.
You're like, Level 5? I know.
I know DQ8 was, but I don't know about 9. But
okay, 9 had very fun gameplay to me. I just fucking hated the story.
I was like, the last Level 5 game I loved was like 20 years ago. Man, Level 5 noted developer.
I don't know. Like, I never played Lane games. I'm too stupid to solve these puzzles, so I'm not a puzzle man. So
you know what? You know what's the real answer? Jean d'Arc. There you go.
People like Jean d'Arc. I do not. It's very unbalanced. The 5 orb characters are way like there's no reason to use anyone else.
I remember Godspeed, and I'm like, okay, this is a good game.
Okay.
But yes, you're right. It's very unbalanced. Anyway, Fantasy Life. What's going on in Fantasy Life, right?
Well, I was actually gonna say, like, I believe Jean d'Arc, a game I've never played, but it's one of the few games that its English box art is like miles above its Japanese box art.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But that's I haven't played the game, so I can literally only judge this by its cover.
Is it feasible to like re-release Jean d'Arc, or is it just too fucked up and like whoever was involved with it?
Who even published it? Was it Level 5?
It's Sony.
Sony.
It's gone. It's done.
Hey, that means it might show up.
They have to make a TV series out of it first for a movie, and then it'll be relevant again.
What about Time Travelers?
It's fucked too, probably.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'll play that in some form in English.
But yeah, Jean d'Arc is the one game where if you look at the 2 box arts and you don't know anything about it, you would assume that the boring plain Jane one is the US one and the Japanese one, but they're not. Anyways, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about Fantasy Life, but yeah, we got Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, will launch worldwide in 2023. It is a Switch exclusive.
Yay!
We've got a new trailer for it. Build your own city, go on an adventure on a new island, explore the island with whatever life occupation suits you, travel between the past and present to unravel the mysteries of this ruined island. So yeah,
the most important one, popular character to the series make a return.
Ooh.
Name me one popular Fantasy Life character right now, Brian.
People who are Fantasy Life fans have their favorite characters.
I'm like Nicholas.
I just like a Fantasy Life name.
Nicholas.
My favorite Fantasy Life character, Nicholas.
Is there a guy named Fred?
Oh no, dude.
Yeah. Well, and that's me. Like everything about this game seems really charming. Got a new trailer for it. It's got that fun little cutesy art style. Like I really don't want to be like I don't want to be like bagging on the
blind spot.
Yeah. We're fucking stupid. Yeah, all the biggest Fantasy Life fans comment at us, tell us what we're missing, which Fantasy Life games should we be playing, and who should be our favorites. So if you have strong feelings, you get back at us.
So while we're on the level 5 topic, so they announced another RPG at this Nintendo Direct, and this is called DecaPolice. This is a crime suspense RPG set to release this year in 2023 for Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. I got a new announcement trailer for this. It's a little 90-second teaser trailer. Details are pretty sparse, but the tagline on the trailer on YouTube is play the role of a futuristic police detective and solve difficult crimes. In this detective story from level 5, you'll explore a vast open world and experience the fun deductive reasoning of DecaPolice, which launches for Nintendo Switch later this year.
Also coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. It took me a while to realize that, yes, those are coming out in English too. It's kind of hard to find English level 5 information because they
better.
Yeah, so I have one question. Where did they find the money to like publish this themselves worldwide?
Nino Kuni mobile game. It's the only explanation. It's gotta be.
So this is funded by
Yeah, it's funded by crypto guys.
Let's go.
But seriously, like, where else would it come from?
I have no idea. Like, do they have an Inazuma 11 making bank or Yokai Watch making bank in Japan right now?
Anyways,
No, Yokai Watch. Like, I remember like that same person we were talking about, Sean, like saying like he like doesn't he like teach in Japan or something?
He used to. I'm not sure if he still does, but he had like an anecdote, and this was probably like 3 or 4 years ago now, where he teaches like kindergarten, grade school age, and he put like Yokai Watch stickers on like their homework or whatever, and like students, you know, these are kids, were like started to groan. Like even Japanese kids were like Yokai Watch. You're like, okay.
That's funny as fuck. Oh, Yokai Watch. Oh, that's so funny to visualize.
Like, it has like a neat like kind of tone and vibe to it. It's like very jazzy. It's kind of, you know, like urban. You know, we got that crime. Like, there's like this investigation system. They showed like suspects and like evidence and whatnot. Obviously, I don't know exactly how it works. And then it has like a turn-based battle system to go along with it. Kind of a charming art style. Kind of a very. I was kind of joking. One of our translators was kind of joking that he knew it was level 5 before they even announced it was level 5 just because of how it looked.
Just doesn't look, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, it looks really charming. So it's like, yeah, I'm curious about this. You know,
Yeah, it's like you play as a special.
not the biggest level 5
unit.
fan, but you know, I'm curious about this game. It looks kind of
Like, and I guess like the the whole thing about the special investigations unit is like they can like access the virtual reality that just mimics like the real world, and like they have like access to like furry forms. I don't know how if there's a terminology for it, but they turn into like animals, and the battle system is like a turn-based battle system where you can like do some form of movement. It looks slick. Like if nothing else, it looks slick, and like it's probably the most promising looking level 5 game in a very long time. So I mean, good luck. I mean, I really want to check this out. It looks awesome, but I have no idea what to expect from like what a modern level 5 console RPG looks like these days.
And again, that's DecaPolice coming out at some point this year. So I'm guessing we're going to have a pretty quick marketing ramp up for this game. As of right now, we're really only sitting on a teaser trailer. Obviously, we've got that linked in our news post for the game, and as more information comes out, there is also a handful of screenshots alongside. A couple other announcements that came out of the Nintendo Direct. Here's one that we'll talk about because we kind of talked about the series earlier. And here's a series that I think a few people were wondering what the future was, and that is Etrian Odyssey. So Atlus has announced that the Etrian Odyssey Origins Collection will launch for Nintendo Switch and PC on June 1st. This is a remastered triple pack of the first 3 Etrian Odyssey dungeon crawlers. So, Adam, I presume you've already played all 3 of these?
Yeah, I played these original versions and I played the remakes 1 and 2.
I only played the original. I never did the remakes that had like the story mode thing.
All right, so tee this up for me. I didn't realize 1 and 2 already had remakes. So these are going to be remasters of the 1 and 2 remakes plus a remaster of 3?
No, so okay. So the original 3 Etrian Odyssey games released on Nintendo DS.
Okay.
The first 2 games got remakes on Nintendo 3DS. These are remasters of the original.
Okay.
Yeah. Of the remake. So
I
these
know,
aren't like remasters of a remake. These are remasters of the original.
I remember back in the day that people were pissed that like Etrian Odyssey 3 didn't get a remake on 3DS because it was the only one that wasn't on 3DS. Because 1, 2, 4, 5, and Nexus were on 3DS, and people were like, 3. For a lot of people, it's the best one.
Yeah,
what
3 rules.
The best one.
Like
3 is one of the best ones.
Yeah, it's one of the
pretty good.
Also, Brian, I just wanted to say I love how you forgot that 1 month where Adam just went insane and went through the entirety of the Etrian Odyssey series
in like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Damn, the madman.
So are you gonna play them again?
I might. So here's my question to you. Here's my question to you. Why would you spend $40 to buy Persona 3 and Persona 4 when you could spend $40 just to play Etrian Odyssey 1?
Well, here's the weird thing, right? Like, okay,
I'm making a joke here. The pricing on these games is a little bit, like, admittedly kind of eyebrow raising. My joke is that you can buy Persona 3 and 4 for $20 each. The pricing on these Etrian Odyssey games, if you buy them as a pack, like as a triple pack on either Switch or Steam, it's $80. So a little bit more expensive than a traditional packaged game. Obviously, it's 3 games, but still, they're 3 old games, and it's $80. So that's one. But then, like, if you buy them individually on Steam, they're $40. And it's just kind of like Etrian Odyssey 1 for $40. That seems like,
I feel like you're getting scammed about for $40.
I mean, 80 for all 3 is like not good, but at least it's all right. But
it's still not great. Yeah, for sure.
There's really obviously no reason to buy them individually because you basically get this price point. If you buy the triple pack, you're kind of getting one for free if we're assuming they're $40 each.
Honestly, my recommendation to people, like straight up, it's just like buy Etrian Odyssey 3 alone for $40. You don't need to play the previous ones. You're good.
Or just get the remake on 3DS and
3 doesn't have one.
It doesn't have one.
We just talked about this.
No. Untold is
I know a lot of people that prefer the original Etrian Odyssey 1 and 2 to Untold, and I can understand why. Because first off, Etrian Odyssey 1 Untold has a whole issue where it's like, okay, if you want to play the game as it was originally intended without the story, you don't get the new content. And then Etrian Odyssey 2 Untold, apparently the bosses, even in, again, the classic mode, have been rebalanced based off of the new titular job that. So it's like the boss fights aren't hard, but they're HP bloated up up the butt, and it's annoying.
It's always about that.
Anyways,
I mean,
Etrian Odyssey is an excellent dungeon crawler. I was talking about dungeon crawlers earlier with Galleria, so of course I love Etrian Odyssey. One thing that's really interesting about these is I saw on the press release that they have remastered music, and what they mean by that. So these music in these games is synth music, like PC-88, and it's got a really cool style to it. I actually really love the PC-88 versions. I know a lot of people love the orchestrated music of the later games, but I love the synth style of the original. So when they said it was remastered, I kind of I was hesitant for a bit, oh no, what did they do to the music? But Yuzo Koshiro, who is the composer for these games and a legend, a living legend, literally, he is involved with these directly. He's the one that remastered them on a PC-88, and he is specifically thinking if it's coming out, I want these to sound good. If they're coming out of the Switch speakers without headphones, I want to make sure they sound good.
Honestly, if there's one follow that you need to have on Twitter, it has to be Yuzo Koshiro's Twitter account because he always puts up clips of him messing with audio equipment and it's clear, concise, what he's doing. You can just listen to it and you can hear this how he tests sound. It's awesome.
And so he's the one who still the same style of music, but he cleaned it up. And like I said, he's he's putting an effort to make sure it sounds good from the Switch if you're not playing with headphones or what have you. Obviously the original games were DS, so it's different speakers. And he even composed a new track for Etrian Odyssey 3. I might get the details wrong, but I believe the 6th Stratum battle track in Etrian Odyssey 3 was it was just borrowed from an earlier game. I don't quite remember the specifics, but anyways, he's basically rectifying that wrong and saying, hey, I'm just making a new battle track for the 6th Stratum, which is typically what they have. So he made a new battle track even. Also, let me mention that Yuzo Koshiro's English is really good. He actually English, him speaking English about the release.
He's completely fluent. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very good. Not even much of an accent really. And he tweets a lot in English, so it's really cool for fans like me to see his genuine thoughts on these sorts of games.
He loves you can tell he's just always been passionate about audio.
Yeah.
And he's just amazing. Okay, so Adam, what do you think about the Etrian Odyssey's team with their existential moral dilemma on display modes? Because there's 2 distinct display modes in this these remasters.
They're doing their best.
I'm gonna be blunt here. There are plenty of dungeon crawlers that have maps that you access separately from the game. It's like, so Etrian Odyssey is just going to be a little bit more like that. I know Etrian Odyssey is obviously a little bit different. It always has been, because in the original releases you kind of like create it yourself with the stylus, so you can't do that anymore. Well, not in the same way anyway. So that's not really a concern for me.
For me, I think it's one, to me, I feel their moral existential dilemma. Like they have like, okay, for people who don't know, like they're doing one mode which is like your more standard modern mode, which is like they have like the whole thing widescreen, whole display, and then it's like your typical, and then you see the map at like a small mini map at the top right corner, and you can have it auto map for you as you're exploring around. Typically, like in the games, like when they were back originally on the DS and stuff, you like create your own maps using the stylus. You would like kind of drag and drop items as you're like filling out the map. Like, oh, here's the treasure chest. Here's like a danger zone, or et cetera, et cetera. Here's a door. Here's a staircase. So they have like a second display mode, which is like kind of more in tune with that original style of presentation, where 60% of like the screen is like where you would typically see like the game as you're wandering around. Like the remaining 40% is split up between icons at like the top right corner, and like the bottom right is like where your actual map is. So it's like trying to emulate, like, hey, if you still want to like create your own map, you can still do it like this. So like and like you can see that the Etrian Odyssey team has been like, okay, we're not on dual screens anymore. It's time. We gotta make this work.
Oh shit! Oh no! What do we do?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I mean, I have to imagine, this is like kind of their first ramp up till like till their new entry in the Etrian Odyssey and series. Like,
I believe they even said in one of the magazine announcements covering this that they're looking for feedback on these games to literally use it towards like the next game.
Yeah.
Like, hey, tell us what you think about how we structured this, and depending on how well people like it or not, we'll take that into consideration as we make Etrian Odyssey 7 or whatever they're going to number it. So
yeah, I mean,
what if an Etrian Odyssey game is the last title on Switch, like it was the last title on 3DS?
Oh fuck. Well, time is a flat circle, I guess. I mean, I'm excited to play these. I mean, I guess I'll get like still the bundle because I still like the Etrian Odyssey series, but like the pricing is, I don't know. The pricing is something else.
I remember Etrian Odyssey like 1 on DDS or DDS. Yes. Digital Devil Saga.
Yeah.
Shout out. Anyways, how much did that cost at release? Like, was that 40 or 30? I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a DS game, so I think it was 40.
Right. Well, it's 40 again.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll buy it to support their cause, Sure.
So when this was announced, my immediate thought was, "Oh, that's nice, but I don't need to replay these again." But then, as I like slept on it, I'm like, I want to replay these again.
They're also some DLC character portraits. I think you get them like if you like pre-order the game or like pre-purchase the game, and then they'll sell them separately after. Like they're like crossover for Atlas characters. So in the first Etrian Odyssey, you can get Joker from Persona 5 and Ringo from Soul Hackers 2.
Yeah, Ringo.
Yeah, and then I think and the other ones are like in the second is like Demi-Fiend from Nocturne and Teddy from Persona 4, and then like the other ones is like Nahobino from like SFT5 and like Igus from Persona 3. And Etrian Odyssey 3, which is interesting, I guess. Sure.
There's also a couple of new other portraits that they just added.
Yeah, and those are free. Like that's like already in the game.
In the game.
Yeah.
Right.
The only ones that like are like paid for after its release is like the crossover ones. Remember? I forgot which Etrian Odyssey, if this Nexus or 5, where they had a portrait of that character from that that upcoming game that they were was it the Fantasy Project Fantasy?
Yeah, I think that was 5, or was it Nexus? Yeah, I think it was 5.
It's either 5 or Nexus. It's got to be one of those.
I was so sick. They're like, yeah, we're gonna have this character that we're teasing that we're definitely gonna release this game one day.
It's definitely gonna come out in the next year or two.
That was just so funny sometimes.
Where's that character? I want that character portrait here. Where the fuck's that character?
There's a very real chance that we're gonna get the next Vanillaware title before we see that game.
Do you think Project Fantasy is still alive?
No.
I have to like remember that fucking game's name. Like, what the fuck was it called?
I feel like
I think the thing that was like I don't know if this is funny or amusing or just weird. It was like they made that new team for Project Refantasy, and like this is
Studio
what they're gonna
Zero
work
or
on.
something.
Yeah, this is what they're gonna work on. And then like almost immediately after they did that, like, well, actually, we're gonna have that team make the Catherine remake first. Like, okay, I guess they're putting Free Fantasy aside for Catherine remake.
And
I think
then
they're
now that
doing
that's
that.
done-
I think they did that to get them used to the engine because it runs on their like internal.
Okay. Yeah,
Well, actually, no. Doesn't Full Body
that-
use like a different engine entirely?
I don't know.
I have no
anything
idea.
about the engine. I think it's, but all I know is that team, which is like Studio Zero, within Atlas, which was made for this Project Refantasy, they did the Catherine remake first, which is a little bit weird, but that's what they decided to do, and they haven't done anything since in terms of like tangible. So
cool. I guess
Etrian Odyssey good.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna. That's like, oh yeah, Studio Zero is like totally like helping the Etrian team out in this for the release. Can you imagine? I'm not saying that's the case, but can you imagine that's like as a post-mortem, they're like, yeah.
Now, for a question for those people that own the original DS version, would you sell your original DS version of the
There's no
first game?
physical copy of this.
There's an Asian copy.
No. I'm talking about Etrian Odyssey, the first. Would you sell it to get funding to buy the new remasters?
Nah, I'll keep it.
Probably not. Yeah.
I have my team on there. I can't just sell them.
Also, there's just something about like actually being able to use your like stylus to just like write it down. Like that's another thing that pisses me off. Apparently, so there's a physical copy for this in Japan. It comes with a capacitive stylus, so you can actually do it like God intended. Atlas, what the hell? Bring that over.
Yeah, to be clear, this game is digital only in North America and Europe. It has a Japanese version and it also has an Asian version. I don't know if the Asian version has English. I'm going to assume it does. It seems like these SKUs are usually pretty universal these days, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, no actual like retail release in the West.
Didn't Atlas straight up like make their own like a new shop that they use for the limited edition for Soul Hackers 2? Why not just have a limited print run for this collection through your shop? Just come on.
You should go email Atlas.
There are a few other things that came out of the Nintendo Direct that are worth talking about, and one of them is, this is a bit of a strange one because it was not announced in the English language version of the Nintendo Direct, but was confirmed to be getting an English release. And this is a Gust title, and that is a remake of the original Atelier game. This is Atelier Marie Remake, The Alchemist of Salburg. So the original game, The Alchemist of Salburg, came out in 1997 for the original PlayStation. And this remake is basically like a 25th anniversary commemorative title that is releasing in English for not only Switch, but also PlayStation 4 and 5 and PC.
To be clear, this is the first time it's ever got an official localization.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. There is an English patch, though.
Yeah, there's a patch, but as far as official releases go, this is the first time.
And it is
fucking cool.
It's listed for this year, 2023, which is crazy because, well, maybe not crazy, but like
they clearly have like two different Atelier teams here.
Yeah, because Ryza 3 is also coming out in March.
Maybe even more. So.
They probably have like 3 or 4 like internal teams and Gus working on different projects at the same time.
This is an interesting one because it's like totally different art style from like recent Atelier games. It's like it's kind of like a chibi.
It has like the brilliant diamond shining pearl sort of art style.
People joke that looks like I've seen people joke that looks like brilliant diamond shining pearl.
Nice,
like not quite the same, but Link's Awakening.
Okay.
Link's
got that
Switch.
chibi.
It looks slick though because it has that for the in-game character models, and then for the actual like character interactions, kind of like almost like a refined live 2D sort of interactions. Sure, I mean, like, it's an interesting way to like kind of commemorate like where the series came from. I mean, it's a long due for.
I'm just on the Wikipedia page for this game because I don't know a whole lot about it other than that it's the first Atelier game, and I like this plot. I know like Atelier plots are usually more like lighthearted, not like hero's journey, save the world sort of things. But I like this plot synopsis. Marie is a 19-year-old student living in Salburg, a make-believe city, medieval-style city. She is the worst student in her entire class and at the risk of expulsion. However, her teacher offers her a chance at salvation. Marie is given her own atelier in which she is given 5 years to produce something outstanding. That's the plot.
Yep. Standard Atelier plot.
I mean, I wonder. I haven't really read like info on like the remake, but I wonder what they're gonna do like that time because I know a lot of contention and like the Atelier community is like older Atelier games were like had those time limits. About recent Atelier games have really eased up on time limits.
Yeah.
So,
I have no idea how the time limits worked in these older games. I know how they worked in like the PS3 era, but I don't know about like this first game. I have no idea.
One thing I do remember is with the older games, they usually like to sell it as like a dual pack with the other one, the Atelier Ellie as well, with Married Together.
Yeah, so Atelier Mary came out on PlayStation, and then when it was re-released on like Sega Saturn, I think, or Dreamcast maybe, it was bundled with the next game, which was Atelier Ellie.
is this getting a global
Yes.
simultaneous? Okay.
We don't know if it's simultaneous for sure.
Okay.
They said it's coming out in summer, and the Japanese release is also coming out in summer. Sophie was simultaneous, right? And Ryza is simultaneous, right? So
Ryza 3 will be simultaneous.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sophie was the first one that was simultaneous.
Yeah. So yeah, it's probably if it looks like they're on that track now. So.
Interesting. Okay.
Now they didn't release a lot of details about this game yet, especially in English, but they're doing a live stream at the end of the month where they'll presumably release a lot more details. So
that's cool. Well, no, there's a good like path to go for them to go on right after Ryza 3. Like, hey, you know what? Like for something for like longtime fans, like this is a really cool like thing that they're doing. Honestly, I really love like when like older games kind of like get a second shot at life, especially ones that have never been officially localized. Like I dig that so much.
This was a little bit teased earlier when we were talking about the Fire Emblem Engage DLC, but we also got a trailer for the upcoming last two waves for the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 expansion pass. And this one was kind of interesting because obviously we've had expansion passes waves 1 and 2. So this gave us a date for expansion pass 3. That is, wave 3 of the expansion pass, which is coming out on February 15th. This introduces a new hero named Masha, who is a gem cutter who basically can craft accessories. But of course,
our favorite part of Xenoblade 3, accessories, right?
Yeah. But of course, the slightly more interesting part of this trailer is that it did give us a tease for the Wave 4, the expansion pass, which we always knew, just based on the eShop listing, that this was going to be whatever this game's Torna, quote unquote, was. So we got a little bit of a 30-second tease. I almost want to say like it's a spoiler, but it's in the trailer. Really? So, okay, I'll just say it this way. Characters from Xenoblades 1 and 2 in adult form are at the end of this expansion pass trailer, suggested that they're going to be playing a role in Wave 4 of the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 expansion pass. However, there is also a screen cap that says that this is a brand new story with a brand new cast. So it seems like the Wave 4 major story DLC for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 will be a new story with a new cast, but somehow tie in characters and plot lines from Xenoblades 1 and 2.
Be careful who you make fun of in middle school.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna say, fucking dude. It has Shulk with a fucking red cape and his fucking Monado, and you have a fucking jacked fucking Rex dual wielding Pyra and Mithra.
Yeah.
Fuck you, dude. And you're going up against something that looks like Alvis. Shit's nuts. Okay, what the fuck is going on? And you have like Proto Noah at the very end out of nowhere. Like we speculate this is probably like sort of like the founders of the city. Xenoblade 3 because like
they match up with the statues
exactly. Yeah, like they look much like the statues at the city. Like look, it's been long enough since Xenoblade 3. We're all friends here, and that's how it is. Nintendo showed it in the direct. We're free to fucking discuss it.
Well, I mean, if you check the statue, it mentions some descriptions that are not exactly matching.
Yet. I mean, you're talking about it matches with jacked Rex, dude. Holy shit.
It says that you lost an eye when you examine the statue.
What do you think is gonna fucking happen in the DLC? Dude.
The dude now is Big Boss.
Dude, he's fucking a Giga Chad, dude. I don't care. What the fuck happened? I need to know what happened.
He is truly the Giga Chad.
It is so funny. I love it. If you can play Rex at dual wielding both of his wives, then sure.
Can you go like Zoro mode from like One Piece and get the third one in his mouth?
Let's go. I'm in. I mean, okay. Before skipping to the last wave of the Torna thing, I think that one thing I actually really do like from Wave 3 is the roguelike challenge battle, the Archsage's Gauntlet thing. Like, I want to see it's like kind of they're kind of doing something neat with the Xenoblade 3 battle system and recontextualizing it as like a roguelike. Sort of like you choose which character you want to go in with, you do these waves, and you actually get like bonuses.
I think it's very neat.
Yeah, and then like I wanna check it out and see like how about they implement this. This is actually a really cool way to like kind of do something different that's not just challenge battle, like the typical challenge battles, like time wave based thing. So this has the potential to be something really cool.
One other thing that was like a little footnote is that on the eShop page for the different waves of the expansion pass, they originally said that Wave 3, they said it was either like estimated date or before April 2023, and it's releasing in mid-February, which either suggests that they're like ahead of schedule or they were just like really conservative on their initial projection about when these things would launch. So we don't have a date.
Conservative.
So that
release in February, March, or April, whenever we can. So.
Yeah, and so we don't have a date for Wave 4, but the eShop listing is 2023, like by December 31st. So we'll be at some point this year.
You want to know what's even more bizarre than that?
What's that?
They gave everyone crossover costumes, or for some reason they gave Taiyan the fucking Jin costume, like of him in his like true form in his battle mode. What the fuck is up with that?
Well, we got to give it to someone, I guess.
That is so funny. I love it. Taiyan is just he looks like a whore, dude. It's great. Fuck. Why is he so? I don't know. It's kind of amazing, to be honest.
And then of course, who gets the Sorry, I'm blanking here.
Senna's got Brigid's costume.
Lance gets Ryan's costume,
right? And then you have Mia with
Nia's
like blade form costume, sort of deal.
What is Uni there? Is that
Melia?
Or that Melia's outfit?
It looks like Melia's outfit.
I don't know. I don't remember what Melia's outfit looked like.
Yeah, it's like her future connected outfit.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. That just really caught me off guard. I'm like, they really. I love Taiyan having the Jin out. I'm a big fan.
So there were a few other things at the Nintendo Direct that I have listed here in our little trailer section of our little outline. Got a trailer. This was one thing that was expected, and I thought would make a bigger splash than it did, at least for me personally. So we got a trailer for the upcoming Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Of course, this game is coming out in May. We expected to see more details at the Nintendo Direct. We got a 2-minute trailer. This trailer basically shows, it focuses on the servants of Ganondorf sweeping over Hyrule. But I watched this trailer and then I thought about it like 30 minutes later. I'm like, what did I watch? I didn't remember much of it. Like,
I have a question for you on this trailer.
Okay.
Does this trailer look like $70 to you?
It looks like Breath of the Wild to me.
Yeah.
Oh, is that so? Does it look like $70 to you?
I don't know.
I guess that's a no.
Right? Like, I don't know. I mean,
so what did we see in this trailer? There's vehicles of various sorts.
Yeah, it looks like fucking Banjo-Kazooie.
Legend of Zelda. Yeah, everyone's making that joke.
But I mean,
there's a bit in this trailer that looks like Zelda falls into a hole. And I know some people are holding out hope, like maybe you play as Link above ground and you play, I don't know, 15% of the game as Zelda underground.
Everyone wants
people have been begging for Zelda to be playable for like at least like forever. I think, I don't want to be mean, but just stop getting yourself like hyped up for something that's probably not going to happen.
Look, Zelda's new artwork has her holding the Sheikah Slate, okay? I mean, we got to use the Sheikah Slate, and if she has it, then, you know.
I mean, I feel like the number of games that like Zelda is playable in is like, you can count them on one hand. It's like Warriors.
And when like Spirit Tracks is one of them, sorta.
She's a statue.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I expect like, we'll actually get like real info about this game. Like they'll have like a dedicated direct for like a month.
I 100% expect a like Zelda direct in early April or something.
I mean, like like that. There are things that are like that look cool here, right? Like you can fucking grind on the rail like in like Sonic. Like okay, you have homing arrows. It's kind of like one of those things that like mechanics that felt incidental in Breath of the Wild. I feel like they're being more standardized here as like something that you just like normally can do. Well, I guess that, and I wonder This means there's like more avenues to play around and find more fucked up shit with a more expanded, like standardized toolkit at your disposal and more expansive options at your disposal, especially with the vehicle shit too. Like, who knows how that'll shape up. But it just feels like things that felt like you found by experimenting in Breath of the Wild feel like they're more standardized here. And since now these are like more standardized as features, hopefully you can build more on top of them, similar to how you experimented in Breath of the Wild to find up more fucked up shit. And think about it like this: remember in Breath of the Wild, one of the last DLCs that came to that game was like they gave Link a motorcycle in that game.
I remember getting that motorcycle, but then by that point, I'm like, well, I have nothing else to do in this game.
Exactly.
So I turned it off and then didn't log back. I say log back in as if it's an online game. I didn't turn it back on. Like ever since getting that motorcycle, I think I played it for like 30 minutes and then forgot about it. So.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I mean it's great that like they just have vehicles there like from the get go instead of like, oh yeah, we're giving this to you when like everyone's beat this game. It's like, okay, great, cool. I kind of do hope that you can kind of just like build your own like fucked up vehicles like nuts and bolts. We can just like do that. We might be cooking with gas.
And I think that covers it for news out of the Nintendo Direct explicitly that we wanted to talk about. I'm looking through our list here, and obviously there was more things discussed, like we talked about Professor Layton and things like that, but specifically in the RPG space in our little purview. There were a few other things that were kind of announced this week outside of the Nintendo Direct, of course.
Hold on. Before
did I miss one?
Go on. You Advance Wars.
Oh, right. Did I not? Maybe I forgot to put that in the list, or I'm just skipping over it. Advance Wars finally has a date. I believe it was April 21st. Let me pull up the headline.
Yeah, so Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp comes out April 21st. Everyone was expecting like a shadow drop because this game's been done for a while now. But they're like, no, it's gonna take some more months. So hopefully
we got a shadow drop. It was just not the game we expected.
it was a cool shadow drop, Metroid Prime Remaster. You've been really hacking away at.
I already beat it.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, hopefully this release date is gonna be not. Hopefully, they're not delaying it anymore. Hopefully, finally,
hopefully, there's no escalation in the conflict
that'll prompt them to
that makes things awkward.
Yeah,
I think that's the real reason why people wanted to shadow drop, so there would be no more excuse to delay it.
So,
one thing that's always kind of interesting about this Advance Wars is I don't believe they announced the date in Japan yet. If they did, it was very delayed because this game is like being totally handled by like Way Forward.
Right.
So even the original announcement I remember was basically Western centric, and then Japan kind of after the fact. So,
well, they began pre-orders again. This is the Direct, so Godspeed.
All right, now I think that covers everything from the Nintendo Direct.
I think so.
I had the Advance Wars headline further down in my list, and I didn't see it. Yeah. There was a lot of news this week, even outside the Nintendo Direct, which I guess we're going to be transitioning into just now. So this is a headline that I've heard more reaction to this headline this week than I have details about what this headline actually is. And this is a new RPG from SEGA and Yoko Taro for mobile devices called 404 Game Reset. So I am going to hand this off to someone knowledgeable about this game, likely Josh, because what I've heard this week about this new Yoko Taro project mostly is just a lot of kerfuffle about this being specifically a iOS and Android game.
Yeah, I mean, typical. Hey, it's a mobile game release coming only to Japan this year. There's probably going to be no plans to release it worldwide. As you said, the game is called 404 Game Reset. What's significant about it is hey, Yoko Taro is not working with just Square Enix. He's working with SEGA to make a video game. That's and there's not the first mobile game that Yoko Taro's worked on. So Alice, I think of Near Reincarnation. It's kind of just he has really been working on a console game since you had the what was those games, Adam? The card game, Voice of Cards, and he didn't forgot what his role was on those.
He was creative lead, but he wasn't the direct writer.
Yeah. So this one's obviously kind of bizarre because it's gonna be gotcha mobile game, and what are they gonna do this time? They're taking the classic Sega franchise and turning them into anime girls. So they have it up on their site. You have character designs for Outrun, Afterburner, Virtua Fighter, Virtua Cop.
It's the only natural extension after you've done Sega Hard Girls, you have to do Sega Soft Girls.
That
true. Sounds way worse than it actually means.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's fucked up.
The hardware girls, okay.
Yeah, but they did call them Sega Hard Girls. It wasn't until Yoko Taro, but there was a point where Sega did turn their like previous consoles, not just into Tunya games.
Yeah. There was like a Tunya spin-off of that shit.
Yeah, there was like a whole thing. Like they had like a dedicated like show for them, like a short show or whatever, like a short.
I will say that's neat.
Crossover game.
One thing I will say that's neat about that is I think that game actually had like a different coloration for the Dreamcast logo depending on the region you bought it.
That's pretty good.
Blue in Europe.
So yeah, so instead of like, turning their past hardware to anime girls, they're now turning to their franchises, IPs into anime girls with Yoko Taro as the creative director, Yugen as the character designer. And Yugen you might know as like I think the Sophie character designer, I believe, for Atelier. Forgot.
I think for some of the characters, I don't know. I don't think they did the entire cast. I think they did some of the cast for the Mysterious trilogy.
Okay, yeah, and then
tetralogy.
Right, yeah, they had like the duo artist shtick going on for that, and then it's kind of one of those things. Like you look at it, it's like, all right, I guess they're doing this. So I don't know much more than that. They announced those 4 characters, revealed their voice actresses, and then kind of the basic setup of the game, like. The world is not as it should be, and then whatever fucked up story Taro has in store. But I mean, I guess when this comes out, I guess I'll look at it and be like, all right, how stupid is this? And
with half those characters would end up dead because they're dead franchises, like Virtual Cop.
Dang, dude.
You just figured out the twist.
That's fucked up. How can you do that? How did you figure out the twist immediately?
When Yoko Taro does what Sega
there's going to be like a big moment in the game when
they kill Skies of Arcadia.
Ooh, and then, who do you want to see? That's a good. We have we'll have the Skies of Arcadia.
The Dragon's going to come in and kill Skies of Arcadia. That's going to happen.
Dang. So okay, which Sega IP? I guess extended IP. If you want to put it to like the Yakuza series and Atlas too. Who do you want to see in it as an anime girl? Chow.
I want to see what the Persona was. I know it's a boring choice, but I wonder
if they'll do Atlas.
I don't know.
Alchemist Chronicles.
Oh man, I wonder. Imagine if they just that'd be so funny if they have if they choose an IP that has like already anime girl designs and they're like, we'll just make a new one to represent the IP.
Wow. It'll be like Falcom Chan in the Neptunia game.
I mean, think about it.
Falcom Chan is literally just a gender swapped idol.
Look. I'm just saying, look, for the Virtua Fighter chick here, it's a whole new character design with polygonal Akira as their stand, I guess, behind them. Instead of they choose Pi or something to be the representative of Virtua Fighter. They just had a new anime girl, Just say it. And yeah, I don't know. This is weird. I don't get it. But it's one of those things. It's how long is this going to be up in service? It's going to launch, and then is it going to go down in a year, 2 years? I mean,
maybe cynical of me, but it kind of it does the whole premise does sound a little bit gimmicky to me. Like, how much staying power could it have?
Well, it lasts longer than Sakura Kakume.
Maybe, probably. I have to imagine, yes.
Put that bet. Remember, they hired the best gacha company to make a gacha game for them.
"Quote unquote" best gacha company.
Yes, the Lightworks. Billions of dollars, guys. Obviously,
didn't the Lightworks almost bankrupt NIS?
Probably.
Was that just Sky RPG?
Yeah, that was the Lightworks, right?
That's ForwardWorks, I think. They're Forward something, because the Lightworks didn't work on the Sky RPG. It was another Sony subsidiary.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I heard Works in the title and I thought they were the same company. My mistake.
I don't believe that. I mean, I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
I remember every single gacha game the Lightworks has touched is kind of in comatose state, except for Fate Grand Order.
I mean, they've only touched another one, and that's Sakura Kakume. That's the thing.
No. There's the Magica one as well. The
Idea Record.
Yeah,
they did not run that. They were not the developers. That's Aniplex and another company. I can 100% tell you they did not develop.
Is it?
Look much. I can go check right now what the developer is, but I can tell you right now it's not the Lightworks.
Okay.
If you want me to go look at that real fast now. I hate you, Chakos. I have to look at this now. It is by the F4 Samurai. That's the
Of course.
Fork Samurai, what the hell is that?
But you only think because it looks like FGO, so they must have created it, which is a very big fallacy to fall in.
Damn.
Yeah, but that's the whole reason why, like, after the Sakura Kakame debacle, like they only pretty much commandeered it and like split them up into Lasengo. So the FGO side of the Lightworks that were developing it, they were split off from the Lightworks to become Lasengo. So that's why whenever you boot up FGO now, and whether Japan or the global, you see Lasengo and so instead of the Lightworks. That's why. That's the whole like that's a direct result from what happened with Sakura Kame. Anyway, that's not the fucking point of the fucking story that we're talking about.
Yeah, we're getting a little off rails here, but
Yes, go on. What's the next news story?
I've lost track. Where were we?
Basically,
Sega
Nintendo Direct news.
Oh yeah, okay. So that was basically for Yoko Taro and Sega's new mobile RPG. This next major headline is kind of a lot of wishful thinking and a little bit of extrapolation. Obviously, a release that is coming out this month that we've talked about a little bit last week on the podcast is Theatrhythm Final Bar Line. There have been a few interviews over in Europe with Final Fantasy Dream and Finaland and Final Fantasy Ring, where basically Square Enix is on the marketing tour talking about Final Bar Line. One of these...
Let me take over.
Oh, okay.
Since I did this article. So yeah, 4 different French Final Fantasy websites had the producer of Theatrhythm came to like literally, sat with them to talk about Theatrhythm mostly, as well as other games in the series. And so they did like a 4-outlet interview with the Theatrhythm producer, whose name is Ichiro Kazuma, I believe. And so they asked him about a bunch of different things. And one of the interviewers basically asked kind of broadly, in celebratory games like Theatrhythm and also Dissidia Opera Omnia, which is, as far as I can tell, does pretty well. Why don't we see more characters from like Final Fantasy Tactics in these games? All these series are presented, but in Tactics a little bit, but why don't we see more? And basically the producer's answer was, well, when we are introducing characters to these sorts of games, how we do that is we go to basically like the creative lead of that team or of that game. So, for example, if they want to introduce a new Final Fantasy VII character, they go to Nomura and thus like we want to introduce this character and they're going to be have this ability and they're going to look like this and whatnot and make sure it's all consistent. So they do that for Tactics, but he said, and this is the interesting quote that we pulled out of this is, well, the team that handles Tactics is extremely busy at the moment, and that is why there are not more Tactics characters in games like Opera Omnia and Theatrhythm. So basically, the nugget here is, what is the Tactics team busy on right now? Now, when they say the Tactics team, it's not like specifically clear what exactly that means, but it's very likely that it's the team that was behind Final Fantasy XII Zodiac Age, Dungeon Encounters, and also the recently released Tactics Ogre Reborn. The lead guy there, the producer, is Rocky Kato. And I've seen some people argue like, well, maybe they were just referring to Tactics Ogre Reborn that just came out, and which is a possibility. But this interview was just conducted like earlier this month. And so this Hazuma said that they were extremely busy like at the moment. So what are they busy on? Something. The fact that they're working on a game isn't really surprising, but like now it's just, fun speculation time. What are they working on? The reason why there's some ammunition behind this is that there have been murmurs of a Final Fantasy Tactics remaster ever since that NVIDIA leak back in 2021. I was like,
what did that NVIDIA leak say?
Yeah. So that NVIDIA leak has become more and more true. There's been games like Voice of Cards and Tactics Ogre and Chrono Cross Remaster that all first appeared on that leak and basically, have since been announced and released, except for Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster as well as Final Fantasy IX Remake. So there's evidence to show that leak was real and those games were real, and we just need to, see how they manifest. So that's basically all it was. It's just kind of like a fun, speculative, like they're working on something. And this producer basically referenced that.
All I'm just saying is, like, clearly, at least the Theatra that has more respect for, like, actually going to the managers than, like, the War of the Visions Brave Exvius team is like, fucking bring all those fucking Tactics characters in our collab. They just fucking brought a shitload, like, the last time I checked in on them. All right. They don't care what the fuck they're doing. We're bringing those characters in our game.
I mean, Theatrical's always felt like a love letter to the series, like, especially with all, like, the art pieces you unlock and all that stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Unlike War of the Visions, godless, lawless, no respect, shameful.
We did get a few other trailers for upcoming games outside the Nintendo Direct. I'm not sure how much we'll dive into each of these. First one is a game that we mentioned in passing previously, obviously coming out in March since its delay from its original February release. We've got Atelier Ryza 3, Alchemist of the End and the Secret Key. So Gust has been pretty deep into the marketing cycle for Ryza 3 for a while now. We've talked about a lot of the returning characters and a lot of the gameplay systems. So we got a trailer that is an opening movie for the game and some details and screenshots of the game's exploration system. So kind of pretty in the granular parts of the marketing cycle for Ryza 3 at this point. Coming out in a little over a month, March 24th here in the West. Another trailer that we got for another March release is, or sorry, why did I say this was a March release? February release. This is actually releasing just in the time next week. This will be out. Wild Hearts. So this is the Electronics Arts published monster hunting game being developed by Omega Force. We've talked about a few of the trailers that they've released on this game, introducing some of the Karakuri and the boar. Was the boar tusk wild boar monster creature was one of the first ones they revealed. We got another showcase trailer called A World Gone Wild, which is basically a CG trailer, kind of just getting some flavor for what the game is and narrative premise and what some of the monsters you'll encounter.
This
and
is a really like fast trailer, just like always moving. It feels like almost like a commercial. I mean, I know that's what trailers are, but this isn't like it doesn't feel like it's not like a game cinematic.
It's all CG.
Like, it's a CG like lengthy commercial. We're showing like a lot of the armor sets and monsters and things like that. It's very upbeat, and they also highlight the music is from the composer. Let me pull up the name. Is it a composer who is supposedly well known? I'll just be honest and say I'm not very familiar with them.
Chucky Zulu.
Chucky Zulu. So
I've like seen like very little like gameplay footage of this game outside like the one time they like showed actually like the UI. I think they showed UI. I can't remember now, but like. Mm-hmm. I've been like purposely kind of like just dodging like much footage about this game. I just kind of like want to go into it as like kind of as blind as possible almost. I'm just
the trailer that I latched onto most was the first one, and it's King Tusk. That's the name I was forgetting. Like showing the three hunters fighting the King Tusk and the different things that they were building. Because like if you're not trying to be charitable, you can call this like Monster Hunter Cross Fortnite or whatever, where you build the different contraptions in order to help with the hunt. So so I saw the trailer with the original look at like the three-way fight with King Tusk and the Karakuri and the three hunters using the different weapon types and things like that. So obviously Omega Force has a bit of a pedigree, not as much as Capcom's monster hunting team, of course, but this game has kind of surprising to see EA publishing a game like this, but we've kind of seen similar things with like Activision having success publishing Sekiro from Software. So hopefully EA sees a similar sort of success here with a monster hunting like, I guess you can put it that way. It's the first Monster Hunter like that we've seen like on a console that wasn't like a portable console. Because I've played like Suikoden 2 or Tokaiden 2 and Soul Sacrifice. It's really cool to see something else in the same space in the console space again. So I'm excited, and this is coming out on the 17th. So by the time we're talking next week on the podcast, this game will be out. And I think there's an early access period if you pre-order this game digitally or something like that. I'm not sure. I'm not really familiar with EA's publishing incentives and things like that. But we might be talking about this game next week. So a new trailer for it this last 7 days with the CG commercial feel like Adam described. I think that mostly covers it for like kind of the main information. Obviously, all the headlines from the Nintendo Direct and a few trailers. Go in here as we wrap up this podcast with a few dates, some demos, and some release dates, and a sales update here. Here, we'll talk about this one first. This one preceded the Nintendo Direct, but it's Nintendo Focus Financials. Released their quarterly financials for quarter 3 of 2023's fiscal year just in this last week. And primarily the big update here, surprise is that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are selling like gangbusters. They have reached a combined 20.6 million units shipped. In comparison to, how does that compare to Sword and Shield, Adam?
This is selling at a much faster pace.
Where it's in the article.
Oh, I see it. So Sword and Shield reached 16 million in its first quarter. Sword and Shield lifetime. Go ahead, James. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
I was just going to say, it's like Sword and Shield were the best-selling Pokemon games since Gold and Silver. If Scarlet and Violet keep selling this well, it might be the games in the franchise that are the first to outsell Red and Blue.
Yeah, and that's to put some numbers to that. Sword and Shield lifetime are at 25.6 million. After their first quarter, they were at 16 million. Right now, Scarlet and Violet is splitting the difference. They're at about 21. They're just shy of 21. So yeah, they're at a pace faster than Sword and Shield.
It's just kind of crazy to think about, like, oh, so the Scarlet and Violet sold like roughly 4 million more units than the previous mainline entry. Like 4 million is just the difference.
Yeah, 4 million just the margin. When we're talking about RPGs like Xenoblade that would love to sell 4 million or things like that lifetime. So Pokemon is still big. Surprise. I still think I have my Pokemon Scarlet card like in my Switch. Eventually I will get back to it. And then the rest of the lines here are mostly release dates. I believe I have these in chronological order. We'll see how true that is. In February, we are going to get a DLC release for one of the unheralded releases of last year, a game that Adam covered pretty thoroughly, and that is Asterigos, Curse of the Stars. This was a debut project from Acme Game Studio. It is getting a DLC pack called Call of the Paragons, which is launching on February 23rd. This is both a paid update coinciding with a free update to the game as well. It seems like it's kind of a very, very standard action RPG fare for an update. You go to new land, there's something like 7 new boss fights, a new story chapter. So not sure if Adam, if you've got any time on your plate to make room for this one.
I am interested in checking it out, but I do not have time on my plate.
He still has to do another playthrough of Metroid Prime Remastered. He has to do the New Game Plus.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We have a release date for one of NIS America's titles. This is Monster Menu, The Scavenger's Cookbook. This is going to be releasing in May. It came out over a year and a half ago, or about a year and a half ago in January 2022 in Japan, but it'll be releasing this year in May, 23rd in North America, the 26th in Europe. And we got a new gameplay trailer coinciding with the release date. Is that true?
I think it came out in January 2021, or was it 2022?
2022. Okay, so yeah, the Monster Menu, the Scavenger's Cookbook, did get a new system trailer this week as well. The reason why I wasn't sure about that is that we had the announcement news of the release date in May, and then I saw the trailer was linked to that. Just wanted to double check that yes was a new trailer and wasn't just an old trailer type paperclip to it. But yep, got a new trailer coming out in May. This is the game that had a long title in Japanese that we just affectionately called Manu. Now it's Monster Menu.
That's a different
game entirely.
That's different.
In the Experience Inc. DRPG, that's literally, like, I think the translated title is defeat strong monsters and gather other equipment. We believe in the day in which the demon lord will be defeated. I think that's the title.
Which is not Monster Menu
for localization by Axis Games, but they haven't released anything on it since.
I got that for like 100 yen when it was on sale in the Japanese eShop, and I thought, I'll play this eventually. Haven't had the chance.
Speaking of NIS America, Void Terrarium 2 does also have a free demo that was just announced this last week as well. I don't think there's any new news on that game other than the fact that the demo is now available. We already talked about Sea of Stars is releasing on August 29th for PlayStation 4 and 5, Switch, and PC. The demo is now available. The demo is limited to Switch only. And the last piece of news here is about a departure from Square Enix. This is Dragon Quest.
You missed one of the most important demo announcements.
Did I miss one? What did I miss? Oh, Darkest Dungeon 2.
No.
No? What
you
else
missed
did I miss?
Wolong.
Oh, Wolong. Why is that one important?
Because it's Wolong.
Okay, so
Wolong is very good.
Wolong Fallen Dynasty is getting a free demo, and it already had one demo period, but now it's getting another, like, assumingly not limited time demo. slated for February 24th. And this is the demo. I believe Adam didn't put any details here in the news post. I assume it's for all consoles, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC.
Yeah.
PC demo is a big deal.
Gotcha. So,
yeah. Hey, shout out to more fucking PC demos. Octopath 2 and Wo Long. Dang.
Yeah.
Is this the year of PC demos once more? Did everyone get the deal field have to pave the path?
we all owe deal field.
That's right. Time to write up a future. This is why deal field is the most important games of this generation.
Deal field sweep.
And
right.
We'll be able to revisit that in March with its new DLC.
A PC demo for the new DLC.
Isn't it like an update rather than a DLC?
Yeah. It's like a you can play a new story or new story perspective essentially.
Yeah, and then I missed this one too. Darkest Dungeon 2 also got a release date. It's been in early access for a year now on the Epic Game Store. However, its 1.0 release for Darkest Dungeon 2 will be on May 8th for both the Epic Game Store and Steam for PC.
I hope it's good. I've heard from some people that have played the early access release that it is middling. So.
All right, and I jumped the gun on this. I'll revisit it now. The last piece of news here is a departure from Square Enix. This is Dragon Quest series producer Ryota Aomi, and basically made an announcement on Twitter in the last week saying that he has begun a new adventure at his next company. Though, as far as I can tell, we don't have any other details other than that. Do we have that information?
Yeah, I don't think we have information on the company, but. He's not like a producer of like all the Dragon Quest games. He's primarily producer on like the Dragon Quest Heroes games that were.
Yeah, so some people I think are making this a bigger deal than it is.
Yeah,
the general producer for Dragon Quest is Yuki Nobachita. He's still there. The executive producer for Dragon Quest is Yu Miyake. They're still there. The producers for Dragon Quest and Dragon Quest XI S are still there. The producer of Dragon Quest Treasures is still there. This person, Aomi, was the producer of Heroes. So he's no longer there.
Yeah, those are like the action RPGs that were like from like Omega Force on developing those. I think
so.
Yeah, they were fun games. Best of luck to them. Greener pastures and all that stuff. So hopefully they kill it at their new where they're going next. Dragon. I really like the Dragon Quest Heroes games. Fond memories of them. Good stuff.
And that's the last headline I have. So that kind of covers this for this episode of the podcast. And for a week that contains a Nintendo Direct, I look at the timestamp on our recording and we're about the 3-hour mark. It seems about right for Nintendo Direct week. Of course, by the time this cleaned up, it might be a little bit less than that. But thank you so much for listening. Hopefully we were able to provide some fun insight and impressions on all the new announcements from the Nintendo Direct, as well as our impressions of the demos available now on Switch with both the Sea of Stars. We didn't talk about the Octopath demo, but that demo is just kind of a 3-hour head start is mostly what it is. So obviously we'll be able to talk about Octopath at a full capacity once it releases later in the month. So I'm not concerned about that, but really cool to talk about some of the options available on Steam Next Fest, which a lot or all of those demos are limited availability. So go check this out if there's anything you're interested in. You can read the two features that we called out on our podcast up at rpgsite.net. That's the Wandering Sword preview that Josh put up, as well as Cullen's Harvestella review. You can find RPG Site on all the social media platforms. We're on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Just search for RPG Site and you should be able to find us. You can join our Discord channel by hitting the link at the top of our homepage or going to discord.gg/RPGsite.
The link should also be in the YouTube video description, I think.
Yeah, it should be, as well as I think all the social links are in the YouTube description as well. And then, of course, if you enjoyed this or if you have any feedback, positive or otherwise, please go ahead and leave us a comment on our YouTube video, on our Spotify upload, or on our site side upload. I do love seeing that feedback so we can adjust accordingly and just hearing what you think.
The level 5 fans aren't too mad at us.
Yeah, we apologize. And then, of course, we'll be next week with another episode of the Tetracast. And as you all know, February has a lot going on, so we will have a lot to talk about. I don't have any doubt about that. So until then, stay safe and take care. We will talk to you next time.
Happy 25th anniversary, Xenogears.
Later, everyone.